We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to another edition of AVRant. I'm Tom Antry, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AVRant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered. And had quite a few back and forth things, not personal life. I'm talking world news, North American news. Well, no, world news over the weekend. There was the border conflict, right? Thailand and Cambodia, which thankfully seems to have sort of been a violent.
Missed that one. Sorry.
Violent blip that looks like they're in talks. I mean, that's been a long disputed border, but it flared up into a violent conflict over the weekend. So hopefully that doesn't go any further. And then there was the South Park season. What are they? 27 now premiere. Aired.
That was definitely a thing that happened.
Aired one day after Matt and Trey had finalized their new deal with Paramount, paying them $1.5 billion with a B over the next 5 years to make sure that Paramount is the exclusive rights holder of South Park in terms of streaming rights and all that, because at one point South Park was on HBO Max, but then Paramount Plus got the exclusive stream rights, and they're paying $1.5 billion for the next 5 years to keep that as such. And one day after that deal was finalized, Matt and Trey seemingly did their best to find how far they could push things and maybe get themselves canceled, even having characters that they voiced directly just talking to one another, more or less as Matt and Trey instead of as the animated characters, saying, "Hey man, it's been a good run. Love you, brother. This might be it." But that all seems to have kind of just blown over and not really resulted in any sort of things, because everybody kind of knows South Park's deal at this point.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, well, there must be some discussions in boardroom someplace when you're having that talk. You're like, well, there's a good chance that the first thing they're going to do is try to screw us, right?
Right. Yeah.
The first thing they're going to do is to see.
It has not exactly been a secret with the creators of South Park that this is their MO.
I know. I was like, and I've said it before in this podcast, but I say it in real life quite a bit as well. But there's only so many things in your that you can pay attention to in your world.
Yes.
And what's going on around you. Like if your life is very, very busy and you're just worried about getting food to your mouth, you don't care about what's happening in other countries,
sure,
or maybe even one city over. It's just very hard. So when things like Rob says the Cambodian-Thailand border skirmish happened, I'm like, nope, I had no idea. I completely missed that one.
Oh, right.
I didn't miss everything, but I missed a lot. I was barely on social media last week.
Right.
It's been a very hectic week. I have lots of things to talk about. My son came home from camp. He was gone. He was 15 when he left, and he was 15 when he got back, but barely. Okay. He came back on his birthday, and he was 16 on his birthday. So he was there for 7.5 weeks.
Yeah.
That young is it's a big thing. So he came back, and then yesterday, so that was Wednesday, I believe. So yesterday, which is Monday, the day before we record this podcast, he achieved the rank of Eagle Scout.
Okay.
In the Scouts, so which is the highest rank, of course, and there's some discussion about how many palms he has, and I'm not really sure what the palm is. I think it has to do with having extra merit badges on top of what you need to be an Eagle Scout.
Okay.
You get more, they give you I don't know. Anyways,
I'm certainly
he's got a
not
bunch
the one to
of
ask about that. I have no idea.
It's fine. Anyways, so he's an Eagle Scout, so we're 2/3, 66% of my kids are Eagle Scouts now.
Right.
So two of them made it. One of them got a girlfend before he could finish his project, that was the end of that.
Yes. That will do it.
He got a little distracted.
Yeah.
So, but he was. Yeah, he had it all done. He had everything he needed. He got the project finalized. He was ready to start the project. I think he did he might have even done the fundraising. I don't remember. But it was either he was about to do the fundraising and get the project started, or he had already done the fundraising and he just needed to get all the materials into the project. And he was like, I don't even want to do this anymore.
I see.
Dang girls. Anyways, which was fine. It was fine.
Right
was
at the finish line.
Yeah, it's very typical. A lot of parents of Eagle Scouts say if you gotta get the Eagle Scout project done, everything done before they hit like 16, because if they get to 16, that's when there's a good chance they're going to start getting interested in other things other than scouting. But so we've got two of them. Two of them got their Eagle Scout, which is good. It's more of an achievement for my wife than it is for anybody else in the family, because she's the engine that drove that car to the end, across the finish line.
Well, congratulations to the whole family in that case.
Yes, I suppose so. People have been sending messages about, congratulating me on things. So, yes, house stuff is looking up.
Okay.
My wife is speaking less negatively about it.
Okay.
My wife is a doom and gloomer. She's
prepare for the worst, hope for the best, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah. So she's always been that way. It's a little infuriating to me that we can at least have a little. And I'm not all that optimistic, but I mean, and I'm going, man, dude, you need to lighten up. That should be a red flag. But she's now talking about when we're going to move in.
Okay.
And she's very excited,
nice.
And she's feeling very hopeful. So all the ducks are lining up in a row.
Are there any sort of issues as far as the lease that you have on your current place that you're renting? Is there any future foreseen headaches with that? It sounded like it's not going to be too bad.
No, it's not that big of a deal. We are going to overlap a little bit.
Okay.
So
that's probably not a bad thing, to be honest. I mean, having that little bit of flexibility.
If something happens with the closing date, which the closing date I think is like the beginning of September.
Okay.
If something happens with the closing date and has to be pushed a week or two, we will still have a place to stay.
That's not so bad. All right.
So we are. I think we're going to be out of here at the end of September.
Okay.
And out of our storage unit at the end of September as well. We're just going to do it all at the same time.
Yeah.
And then that'll give us, like, in theory, like 3.5 weeks or so to move everything, get everything set up, and not have to worry and get this place cleaned up as well. We have a friend. I have a friend who is my cycling partner, who I cycle with almost all the time.
Okay.
Like, I rarely cycle without her, and she is super OCD when it comes to like cleaning. Like that's like half of what she texts me is like, I just cleaned my vents. I'm like, what vents? She's like, your AC vents. I'm like,
HVAC
vents. That is not a thing that I have ever done. I don't know why you would do
regular maintenance recommends once a year.
Well, she does it once a week. So
that is more than most would say is necessary. Sure.
This is necessary. Believe me. So she's like, would it be okay if for your move, what they call it, your housewarming gift, I just clean your apartment for you? I'm like, that is so freaking weird. You are so weird. She's like, but I love cleaning. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask my wife. I don't know. I don't know what she's gonna say. So good luck. But
I'd be all over that. That sounds like a heck of a good deal for you guys.
I know. She lived in so the association that, or the company that owns this property owns multiple properties all over the place, and she lived in a property owned by the same company in a different town many moons ago. And when they moved out, the place was so clean that they rented it out the next day.
Oh, okay.
She got like all of her deposits and everything back. They're like, they broke their lease. They're like, here's your money back. We immediately rented it out. Not so time. I'm like, okay, so that's the promise she's making us. But it does seem like there is going to be a TV room. So I'll have to go in there and measure and stuff like that and see.
I'm sure you can make it work.
Oh, I will. I'm sure that, there's going to be bifold doors in the closet, which I don't love. Those tend to rattle.
That is something that in the future could be replaced with an upgrade, though. So,
Or just removed,
Sure.
which is what I did with the last ones. I just got rid of them. I just threw them out.
That might be the easiest.
Yeah. But I think that's, we were looking at couches the other day. She wants to she's like, we're going to get new couches. I'm like, I love this new you that wants to spend money on things. She's like, this couch, because we've got a couch that somebody gave us and it's stained and a little, not our style or whatever, but it's just not, it's fine. It is worth every cent we paid for it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's been fine, but it's not very comfortable. And she's like, we're going to get a very comfortable couch. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get a smaller one because we got a nice big couch for our last place so all of us could sit together. I think we all sat together like 3 times on it. I'm like, we're getting enough for us and a dog. We have a big dog, so it's going to be like a 3-seater couch.
Oh, yeah. Pretty. You wouldn't really call it a couch unless it was 3 seats or more. Yeah. So, yeah, that sounds good. So we have oodles of questions to get to this week, but before we do that, I have to ask: is there anything as far as that new job offer? Because I can't. No,
actually, I just emailed them. I sent them the paperwork and it's, to be very clear, it is it's a consulting thing, so it'll be like work here and there, and I don't really know how it's going to work out. So I did know that when I was doing the interview, they were saying that they had just moved into a new building, and he said you're supposed to send the paperwork to HR or accounting or something. He goes, but our computer systems aren't talking to each other right now, so if you send it to me, then I can send it to them, and I'll make sure that everything works. So I sent it to him, and then I haven't heard anything in a week or 2 or whatever. It's been a week, about a week, right? Week and a half.
Pretty much been a week, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still waiting to hear on that. I just sent them an email, just kind of quick follow up. Hey, you need anything else from me? Let me know. But yeah, I did hear. I must have been after our podcast. The person who recommended me for the position got in touch with him, and he was very, very positive about our interaction.
That's a good sign.
It does seem like this is that if there is a delay, it is not because they're having second thoughts. It is more of a just a logistical thing.
Sure.
I will say, and I'm going to be. I know that we have a lot of questions, so I apologize, but I am going to say this last year has been challenging.
We'll
say for both of us, but me in particular, it's been a little bit on the.
You've had the much more challenging time. There's no question about that.
It's been almost. It's not quite a year, but it's been almost pretty close to a year since the house flooded.
Summer to summer. It was summer season. Yeah.
And it's really, and I hate saying this because this is like tempting fate or whatever, but it really feels like things are turning around for us.
Let's hope so. I mean, fingers crossed. You certainly deserve for it to be better times.
Yeah, the boys are doing well. My son is doing, is the 16-year-old. He's now 16. Seems to be doing pretty well. My personal stuff, in not just the things that I talk to you guys about, but in other aspects, are all looking very, very positive. So kind of like feel like I'm finally getting my head above water, both, financially, well, not both, but financially, personally, emotionally, like the whole thing is starting to look up a little bit.
Let's hope so. I mean, there's the whole, when it rains, it pours. And let's hope the other end of that is equally true, that when it's all on the rise, then it's all on the rise together. That'd be nice.
So is anything going on with you want to discuss before
nothing of great significance. I just wanted to try and be positive about something. On Sunday, we just had like the absolute most lovely weather where I lived. It was like ideal. You don't need a jacket at all temperature, but you just walk outside. It was just like perfect breeze, perfect temperature, like just the slightest bit of high clouds so that it was like not beaming down harsh sunlight, but it was still like barely any cloud. It was like like idyllic. I just wanted to take it in and soak it in because it doesn't last very long. And it was like, hey, that was like a perfect weather day.
Did I send you anything yesterday?
You sent me a thing that looks like could be like thunderstorms happening today, and it was like 85 Fahrenheit in like the morning, which is not okay.
It was 6 a.m. I sent him a picture. I got up at 6 a.m. to go cycle. I got up at 6 a.m. and I looked at the weather and I took a screenshot of it. It's 84 degrees currently at 6 a.m. feels like 97.
No, not okay.
It has been so miserable here.
And that wasn't in response to what I just said. I didn't tell Tom any about that until just this second of how lovely Sunday was. So him doing that on Monday was not a response to.
It was 117. It was with heat index. It was 117 on Sunday. By the way,
it doesn't. At 117, it just stops. It doesn't feel like anything.
I was outside at a picnic thing. And I was like, what are we doing out here? Everybody was just
like saying outer space feels like cold.
It is so bad. So yeah, we're having a huge heat wave here in Florida. And like when Floridians are like, oh my God.
Right.
At 6 a.m., 84 feels like 97. With it feels like you shouldn't go outside, dummy. Stay inside with the AC. Every time I exit my house or my car, my glasses fog up.
Right.
Because of how hot and humid it is out there. Oh, yeah, it's been fun. So, Rob, we watched a movie.
We did, yeah, almost together. It's just we didn't plan it. We didn't talk about this whatsoever beforehand. But yes, in terms of what we watched, Tom and I both ventured out to movie theaters and saw Superman.
We did. My son came back, and I was like, hey, I'll take the day off.
Okay.
And we'll go and see Superman.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, oh, where are you going to go see it? And I told her where. She's like, why wouldn't you go to the closer theater? I'm like, because it's IMAX. I want to go see it in IMAX.
And I saw it in IMAX as well.
Except that I wasn't paying close attention to the tickets. And when I got there, they're like, oh, and the glasses were next to the door. I said, excuse me, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. So I saw it in IMAX 3D.
Now, I didn't specifically choose 3D or non-3D. The way all the IMAX theaters in my area are doing it is one out of the, I guess there's 4 showings per day. Yeah, 1 out of the 4 showings per day is in 3D. And thankfully, not all of them did the 3D showings at exactly the same time, across the entire Lower Mainland area. So I didn't choose anything specifically. I just went to the time and the location that worked best for me, and it happened to not be 3D. I wouldn't have been upset if it had been, but my showing was not 3D. So it's kind of the reverse of what you would expect. You do usually expect Rob H to be the one, going to see the movie in 3D, and Tom definitely avoiding it. But by happenstance, Tom saw it in 3D. Yes. Did it change your life, Tom? Did it change the movie for the better?
I continue to think that that 3D has never, for any movie, including Avatar, added anything to the movie itself. It does not do anything for me other than be distracting every once in a while.
I have argued for its benefits in Avatar. I have argued for Ant-Man and Doctor Strange as I feel those two particular, the first Doctor Strange movie, that I felt it was like an actual planned part of the storytelling. And I believe the first Ant-Man was actually shot in 3D. The other ones weren't, but I think the first one was actually shot in 3D. And then Hugo, I think it's quite vital to see that one in 3D, which that's not one you've ever really watched, right? So that could be the one that convinces you, Tom. It might be worth going way back in time and finding yourself a 3D TV just for that one movie.
Yeah, that's totally never going to happen.
I don't know. But Superman.
So, yes.
Superman.
But the movie.
Yeah.
But the movie. So James Gunn, who we all know from Guardians of the Galaxy and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot to be said for this movie. And I have argued against quite heavily superhero fatigue as being a thing. I just don't necessarily think that that's true. I will say, to a certain extent, I feel like this movie, if you had sat me down and said, what do you want in a Superman movie? I would have said, I'm tired of the grimdark. I definitely don't want, I want a Superman who's a good guy.
Yep.
Like he's always supposed to have been, like they call him the Boy Scout. You know what I mean? He is, the ultimate, personification of justice and, and being good.
Yeah.
and saving people, and like, how does the bad guy get one up on Superman at all times?
Sure.
It's he puts somebody else in harm's way,
because the idea is that
because he knows that Superman
himself is essentially impervious.
Yeah. So Superman will always go save the little guy.
Right.
Will always do whatever it takes to save people, no matter what, no matter if it hurts him or not.
Right.
And I would have said that that's exactly what I want, and that's basically what I got.
It's pretty close to what we got. Yep.
And I like the movie. There's nothing about the movie I didn't like. I think I do think there's quite a few little digs in there against Marvel and the internet. Specifically with
the prior DCEU version of things, that you could absolutely interpret some of it as direct little digs at that, even though there are the weirdo fans out there who want James Gunn and Zack Snyder to be the worst of enemies, but they absolutely are not. I don't know if they're like the best of friends, but James Gunn has talked very openly about how he totally had long conversations with Zack Snyder because he was trying to figure out what he wanted his new version of Superman to be, and they had long discussions and creative planning, and they talked about all the challenges that they had in common when it came to the suit design and all that. So they are in no way enemies, despite what some of the online trolls want you to think.
Like the Velcro across the back of the neck. I thought that was
very practical.
A very practical way of doing it.
David Corenswet has also said, David Corenswet, who portrays Clark Kent and Superman in this movie, said how much he appreciated that the suit was designed so that as a real life actor, not as the character in the movie, it took about 5 minutes or so to get the costume off enough for him to use the washroom, which he very much appreciated, that it was not some, 30-minute process like some of the other costumes reportedly have been.
I think that you can. So my big problem was that one of the reviewers that I respect. I watched the beginning of their review of this movie, and they always will give like a spoiler-free version if they're going to do spoilers.
Well, I was going to
afterwards.
suggest, let's, I think we've kept it spoiler-free so far. I wouldn't mind, because we do have the timestamps in here, so give a warning, but I wouldn't mind that since both of us have seen it, we can do a spoiler, a little bit of spoiler talk if we want to, but we'll just warn that it's coming up.
Let's do that a little bit later, and we will do a heads up about that. His spoiler-free version was like 10 out of 10, best movie. He was over the moon about this movie, which I think set me up for failure. Because I went in there expecting
little bit
to be
too hopeful and high expectations.
My expectations were a little bit too high. But it's certainly not a perfect movie. There's things about the movie that I think you can make the argument there's too many characters in there, which I think that's both okay and not okay.
Sure.
I think there's reasons to have all the characters in there, and there's also reasons why it would have been easier as an audience member if there had been fewer characters with more emphasis placed on each one.
On that front, though, I didn't feel like it was like some of the criticism of some of the former Batman movies, where they're like, it really is just the villains and Batman's kind of just there. I didn't feel like having there are a lot of characters in this movie. I didn't feel like they outshone Superman to the point that it didn't feel like this was Superman's movie. I felt like, this is Superman's movie. There are a lot of ancillary characters, but this is Superman's movie, I thought.
I will I will point to the very beginning of the movie where Superman or Clark and Lois, there's a long scene of them just talking. They get in kind of an argument or whatever.
A little bit of an interview argument scene, sure. Okay.
Yeah, and it is, I was like, when was the last time we saw a superhero movie where people just talk to each other and you got to know the characters? It was like so refreshing to have. I was like, they're actually going to spend some time letting us get to know these people, and they're not just
these new versions that we aren't going to completely rely on all previous versions of Superman. We're gonna establish what this relationship is.
So overall, before we get into the spoilers, what did you think of the movie? Like the kind of gist of it? I mean,
Okay.
what's your rating,
So,
or how do you want to talk about it?
I am certainly positive on it. I'm definitely not anywhere close to giving this a thumbs down. This is a thumbs up for me. I don't think it's a perfect, flawless movie. I don't think that I got absolutely everything I could ever possibly want out of a Superman movie, but I definitely enjoyed it. This is a very, very comic book to screen movie. This is not at all trying to be, how realistic and gritty can we make it? Absolutely not. This is out there. This is like, I don't want to get into any spoilers, but yeah, we are very much into comic book territory. And then one of my favorite things from the original Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner, Superman the movie, was that one moment where, there's all the stuff that's going on with after the missile actually strikes and the earthquakes are happening, and there's that like oil rig scene where he comes in and I can't remember if there was a fire going on, but anyway, he helps the fellas on the oil rig, and then Superman in that movie stops for a moment and he says, "Gentlemen, is that man all right?" Like he checks on the one guy that they're carrying, and he takes that moment while all this chaos is going on. And there were similar little scenes in this movie where he focuses on one person. It's not the gigantic explosions, whatever you're fighting is happening. There's one individual that he pauses to save. And I love that because one of my favorite things about Superman is not the idea that Superman just cares about everybody, but that he cares about each and every person. And it's that each and every person that I think distinguishes Superman from other superheroes, that he'll stop for the smallest person, and that matters. And I like the approach of, look, you can't always know what your decisions are going to lead to. And so that can freeze people, right? What if I do this thing that I think is good in the moment, but it ends up leading to something bad? Superman, in my favorite version of him, has never taken that approach. He's actually taken the approach that like Dolly Parton has always espoused, which is you do the best you can right now. You know, if this is the best thing that you can do in this moment, that's what you do, and you hope that the chips fall where they may, and it falls in a more positive direction than negative when you do the best that you can right now. And I like that version of Superman. So I liked this version of Superman. He felt a little bit immature as a superhero. Even though he's supposed to have already been a superhero for 3 years at this point, he felt like he's still developing. And, he mentions himself, he's still making mistakes, and he's always going to make mistakes. And then I also really, really liked this version of Lex Luthor. You got Nicholas Hoult portraying Lex Luthor in this. And I, from some of the stuff I was hearing from preview reviews, I was hoping that it was going to be what some of them mentioned, which is that this is a Lex Luthor who just hates Superman's guts. It's like on a recessed childhood level, like, I hate your guts. Like, I don't just hate you. I'm not just a grown man who hates this other person. I hate your guts. And it wasn't quite there for me, but I did love that. Like, so we've had all these previous versions of Lex Luthor, right? The Gene Hackman version was almost kind of amused by Superman, right? Like, the Gene Hackman version never ever saw himself as a physical threat to Superman. He was like, I'm going to outsmart this guy. I know I'm a criminal, and I revel in being a criminal, and he's almost amused by Superman. You had the Michael Rosenbaum version.
He was more Jokerish than he was Lex Luthor.
You had the Michael Rosenbaum version on Smallville, who was in love with Clark. He was in love with Superman, and but I loved that version. I thought that version on Smallville was great. This version is, he is emasculated by Superman, and he cannot stand it. And I liked it. I like that it is immature. It wasn't quite recess immature like I was almost hoping it to be from some of the things I had heard. But it was, he's emasculated by him, and that's just, he cannot tolerate
he can
that.
own the rest of the superheroes in one way or the other. He's either smarter than them, or he's got better technology or whatever, or he can buy them.
And I thought Nicholas Hoult did a fantastic job in this. I thought his accent was really good too. I didn't hear any of his British accent sort of slipping through at all. And then I want to give big credit to Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. The highest compliment I can give is from moment one, because I haven't seen Rachel Brosnahan's performance of Lois Lane before. This is a new take. From moment one through the entire movie, I'm just like, yeah, that's Lois Lane. Like there was never a moment where I was not convinced that I was just watching Lois Lane on screen. I thought she was excellent as being exactly what I always think of Lois Lane being. I thought it was really good, and I loved some of the because she's confident, she knows what she's doing, she's sure of herself. She saves Superman in this movie, which I like that. But also just I thought her performance was really, really good. Those moments where they're just talking, and it's just like the little thing, she just turns her back and just kind of mutters to herself, and it's like, oh, you just get it. You get all the subtext and all the feeling of what's going on with that character. So I thought all the three main actors in this movie did tremendous jobs, and for that reason, it's pretty hard for it to be a failure on any level when your three leads really, really knocked it out of the park like I thought they did.
I agree with all that.
Okay. Oh, I want to say...
should we go into spoilers now?
I'll just say my main non-spoilery criticism is that I didn't love Superman's new suit. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it by any means, but I kind of felt bad for David Corenswet, who worked his physical buns off to get in ridiculously muscular shape, and you don't see any of his musculature. It's like, it's thick material. It looks like a jacket that he's wearing, and you don't see his musculature, and they didn't give him a shirtless scene, which is kind of weird in today's superhero movies. I was like, man, David Corenswet put all that work in. Let us see the muscles that he put on. Like, the dude did the work. Let us see it. I kind of felt bad for him. But I like that it was colorful and it's bright and it's not, it's some dark, moody version of it at all.
Yeah. They did mention how people don't recognize him with the glasses on. They did mention how that worked, which I thought which is kind of cool. But you're right. In a certain way, you're right in that he never looked big.
Yeah,
even, you know what I mean. But he also
in
never
real
really
life, he's 6'4" and packed with muscle, and it's like he didn't. That didn't come.
There's
across.
like one scene at the very beginning where he's like going through the crowd or whatever, and he's got his hair messed up, and he does. I mean, he really does look different. Like he really does look different as Clark Kent than he does as Superman. Like there's no like I'm like I would. I don't think that I would recognize him either, but he is so tall. You just see this head bobbing through.
When we first see him as Clark Kent, he's towering above everybody as he's walking down the street, just because he really does in real life. So So
okay,
so
if I was going to go with
spoilers from here on out, we've got the timestamps.
Spoilers.
We've got the timestamps in the show description. If you don't want to hear anything from here on out, there are spoilers. You are warned. Skip ahead to the next timestamp. There.
Yes, you've got a couple more seconds as I vamp here to try to give you a moment to.
But let's not draw this out. We've got to get going.
Yeah. So I don't know what kind of spoilers you want to address specifically, but there's a lot of things in here in this movie where him being James Gunn was like, I'm pretty irritated about a couple of things, and I want to make sure that I'm going to take some digs. Just like sort of like at the end of She-Hulk, they're like, and the bad guys are the internet trolls.
Right.
you're like Lex Luthor in this pocket dimension walking through, and he's like, and here's all my monkeys. And I was like,
and I mean, this is just it. Like, they didn't explain what a pocket dimension was. They're just like, look, it's a comic book movie. You're going to understand that we're in like a space between worlds, if nothing else, and we're like, pocket dimension, no explanation, let's go.
Right.
Yes, his typing monkeys. That was good.
Obviously, the Guy Gardner character, as a whole, people are like, why does he look so stupid? Why is he?
Because he's pulled straight from the comic book page. That's why.
And he is infuriating in the comic books. Like everyone hates him in the comic books. Like nobody. Like one of the best comic book panels of all time is the Justice League International comic page where Batman knocks Guy Gardner out, and like a bunch of people keep like the other Justice League International members keep walking in and going, is Guy Gardner on the ground?
Right.
What happened? Because no one likes him because he's smug and he's obnoxious and he looks stupid and everybody hates him. So, but I thought, if you're like, oh, that Guy Gardner character looks dumb, and I didn't like him, I'm like, ta-da!
Right, but I appreciated that the Justice Gang, this little proto Justice Gang that they have in here, like they didn't overshadow Superman in this movie. I thought he struck a pretty good balance. Now, Mr. Terrific probably got more screen time than any of the other Justice Gang members, and so clearly setting that up, because like whether he ends up being a series on HBO Max or getting his own movie, like that seemed pretty clear. They want Mr. Terrific to be significant moving forward. He got like probably the most dramatic action scene in this whole movie.
I was going to say his fight scene was by far the best.
Right, yeah.
Other than like some of the Superman stuff, obviously. But
No, the big spoilery thing for me is we've got Ultraman in this movie, but really that was the least comic book accurate out of all the characters that they put in here was Ultraman, because Ultraman is Superman from another world, which could have been the case here. They've got this pocket universe that goes between worlds and locations, if nothing else.
Instead, it was just a clone.
I mean, he's essentially Bizarro, but instead of calling him Bizarro, they called him Ultraman. So that was a little bit odd. I guess they didn't want to use the name Bizarro, although, I mean, look at how silly this movie is. You got a character named Bizarro. It's not going to be that out of place in this movie. So why they decided it had to be Ultraman. But, he gets sucked into a black hole. Maybe he comes back as Bizarro later or something like that.
Could be. Yeah. But, I mean, so the one thing that I'm sure no matter who you are, when you see this movie, it's going to give you pause, is the change to Superman's backstory.
Sure.
That's the big thing.
He's a Viltrumite.
Yeah, basically. It's like, hey, remember Omni-Man? What if he...
That's not completely new. There have been versions in the comics where that was the case, where the Kryptonians were essentially... they're not quite Viltrumites. They weren't quite as violent about it, but that they were essentially, if not outright conquerors, they just knew they were superior to pretty much all other species in the universe, and so they were going out there and quote unquote benevolently taking over and leading people in their own words. So that's not completely new.
So, I mean, but for a lot of people, they only know Superman from the movies.
Right.
And they know that backstory of, Karl, we love you and we want you to protect the Earth or whatever. And, I mean...
But, I mean, Smallville took gigantic liberties with the backstory as well. So, every version does their own thing.
And that's fine. I for a second, I was like, I don't know if I like that. I want that. I want that not to be true.
Yeah.
Also,
I didn't love Bradley Cooper being Jor-El. I didn't love that casting. I mean, he's a James Gunn player, so he's going to be in there somewhere. But I'm like, Bradley Cooper is Jor-El? I don't know. I don't believe that guy's genes ended up in David Corn sweat. It doesn't quite look right.
Right. So, from the perspective of somebody who's been watching superhero movies for so long, I am so happy I didn't have to see his backstory again.
Right? Yeah.
Like we didn't have to go.
You didn't have the full destruction of Krypton again. Yeah.
Yeah, and deal with it's like everybody knows who Batman is. Everybody knows who.
Well, I mean, not
Superman
necessarily.
is.
There's new people born every day, Tom. So.
Yeah, believe me. They if they don't know, we'll figure it out pretty quick.
Yes.
Like you don't need to know. Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it,
they gave the very quick little text description at the very beginning of the movie, which I felt went on maybe a few too many threes. I got a little bit overboard with the number of threes that were going on in that text description, but that was okay. That was come and gone fast enough.
Yeah. So, I guess, I kind of wanted it to be funniir. If I'm going to give like a negative about it, and I don't know that it almost felt like James Gunn was intimidated by his new position, if you will. Like with Guardians of the Galaxy,
dialed it back a little bit from maximum risk taking. Sure.
Yeah. So I felt like in Guardians of the Galaxy, it was like, ain't nobody knows who these people are. I can't believe they're letting me make this movie. We're just gonna throw it all off the wall. If this is one and done, then
whatever. Yeah. Yes. Not a lot of.
Whereas
at stake
this
for him,
is like the cornerstone of a new potential universe here, and I felt restraint. On this,
I'm not going to hold that against it though, because I don't feel it. I don't feel it was to the point of not having any entertainment value at all. I think my biggest criticism of it was they left absolutely zero subtlety with Lex Luthor. They just had him monologue and say exactly all the subtext of everything he was doing. They didn't trust the audience to have any debate or put any two and two together, because I think it could have been fun to have a little discussion of, okay, did he do all this stuff with Superman so that he could gain control of a country and become king, or did he gain control of a country and become king in order to get at Superman? And they leave none of that to debate. They just have him monologuing, say exactly what it was.
I mean, have you seen people recently? I don't know that we can trust them to have
felt
a
like a
debate
studio
about
note,
anything.
but I'm not going to hold it too much against it. But that wasn't my favorite. I didn't think it was necessary to say it quite that explicitly directly to camera. But there you go.
Yeah, I mean, a lot happened in this movie too. I mean, a lot happened.
Yeah, a lot is packed in.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like it went over long in its running time. I felt like it was well paced. It moved at a good clip.
It moved at a good clip. I think less could have happened, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I felt like towards the end, I was like, this is too much stuff.
There were a lot of characters.
You know, and if you've ever seen, like, I mean, like Rob said at the beginning, if there's a and Hawk Girl was completely underutilized.
Sure.
As far or Hawk Woman, I don't know what they call her.
No, she's
in
Hawk
this
Girl
one.
in this, but I didn't feel it was that bad. I thought,
Well, she's also
clearly
supposed to be an alien,
focus.
right? I mean, that's
And
they
she
came from another.
She didn't get a big character arc in this or anything like
No,
that. So, but that's fine. Whatever. She's
You know, one of Lex Luthor's problems was xenophobia as well. Like, he's an alien he's not from here, and I'm like, isn't she an alien too? I thought she was an alien, but at least in the comic book she is. But you know, I felt like they could have. There was almost too much happening.
Sure.
You know, we could have had a couple fewer plot points. I loved Elemental Man. Is that what his name was?
Metamorpho.
Metamorpho, that's right.
Yeah.
It was the best. And
he felt like the most James Gunn character to me.
He did.
Like, just the way he spoke.
But that whole interaction with him, I felt like really solidified for me how Superman is, how Superman should be, which is, he said, you know, Superman's like, you know, you're torturing me, you know, but you know, I can save your kid. I can do it.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the classic thing of, you take all of Superman's powers away, and he's still a good person, and he'll rely on persuasion and appealing to the goodness in others. That's how he solves that situation.
That's how he solves
totally
problems.
Fit.
So, you know, he saved the squirrel. He saved
That's right.
which it's got. If there's not a Squirrel Girl reference someplace in the next movie
coming,
because of that, it's got to be coming. You know, he's trying to stop the giant thing from crashing into buildings,
but also try and save the giant thing.
Yeah, but also try to save the giant thing. I mean, this was the Superman I wanted.
That's right.
Did I end up at the end of the movie cheering though?
Right.
Like you kind of did for the original Superman. The Dawn of Superman. No, it was just. I don't know. I wanted there to be.
It was a nice ending to this.
Yes,
movie.
I wanted there to be more. I wanted it to be. You know,
but in a way, that's good. There can be sequels.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted there to be this kind of climax that brought me emotionally up to a. Like, this didn't feel like a fulfilling movie by the end.
Yeah, it didn't lift you out of your seat. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Like, you want to cheer when the bad guy goes down. I'm like, oh, he's fighting himself. Ugh. Again. like every Marvel movie. It's like, hey, I'm you, but with your powers, but a little bit stronger, or a little bit
Ultraman
bigger.
Bizarro, whatever it's going to be. Well, yeah, speaking of too much, we've got to move on, but just very quickly, what'd you think of Crypto the Superdog?
Well, what's not like a Superdog? I mean, Superdog. Yeah.
He's Supergirl's Superdog, though.
I know,
Superman was just dog sitting.
He's like, wait a second. That was like the one thing. Like, if you've ever seen if you've ever read a comic book or seen a movie, like everything was set up. Like, I knew that was Superman inside that suit. The minute they didn't take a stupid mask off,
of course,
you knew that was a Superman clone or something in there. You kind of set everything up as far as how things were going to go, except for the dog being Supergirl's dog. And I was like, what? She's like, later, loser.
But that means he gets to be in her movie, so there you go.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
So
we ready?
Yeah, welcome back. If you've skipped ahead, welcome back. Welcome to the new timestamps. We're on to Listeners of the Week.
All right. This is AVRant, the podcast that answers your home theater and AV questions. To get your questions answered, all you do is ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. Go to our website where you'll find our shows, our show notes, links to any products or products or articles that we'll be referencing. There'll be a link to our Flickr album so you can follow along with the pictures. Facebook.com/AVRant podcast, YouTube.com/AVRant. Contact Rob directly, rob@avrant.com. His socials is @FirstReflect. I'm Tom at avrant.com. Thank our listeners of the week. To become a listener of the week, support the podcast in some way. One of the ways you do that is going to avrant.com, click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and send us a PayPal donation. And this week, we want to thank Raf for doing that. Thank you very much, Raf.
Yeah, for sure. Raf. Thank you so much for the PayPal donation. It was Baby Beluga. I was moving on to the next word and it all got jumbled up. Raf, thank you very much for the PayPal donation. Really appreciate your financial support.
That's right. Don't sing the Baby Beluga song because they're definitely going to get demonetized. What will we do? If you want to support us monthly, you can go to patreon.com/AVRant podcast, where you can sign up to become a monthly contributor. We currently have 131 patrons, including John. Thank you to all of you patrons.
That's right. That is, once again, patreon.com/AVRant podcast. If you'd like to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. So a big thank you to our 131 patrons over there. John, thank you for being one of them.
If you can't support us financially, support us in some way, and we will mention you here. One of the ways you can do that is sending us the movie codes, and we'll test them out for you. Greg sent a gazillion movie codes. Most of them did not work, that were duplicates of ones that had already been sent in. But I did get some. One of the ones, Brightburn, worked, and I haven't seen that movie yet. And I'm very excited about seeing that as a counterpoint to the current Superman movie I just saw. So, anyways, he's taking the money that TCL refunded him for his 98-inch TV that he still gets to keep and making liberal use of Kaleidoscape's disc-to-digital program. He's really liking the Kaleidoscape player, but they do make their settings unnecessarily secretive so that you're almost forced to pay your dealer to set it up for you. So...
He sent in a little screenshot of some of the prices there. They range widely, some of them just north of $3 to do the disc-to-digital program, which not bad. That's not bad. That's a pretty much, why don't I just go ahead and add that to my Kaleidoscape library? But some of them are, over $20 was one of them. So it very much depends on the studio, very much depends on the movie, but it's just an example of, if you already own the disc, you don't have to pay full price again to put it into your Kaleidoscape library. You have to pay a price, but not full price.
We also got notes of gratitude for keeping the podcast going from Mark, who recommended a show called Alice in Borderland. It's a Japanese production available on Netflix, and it shares some similarities with Squid Game for anyone who's a fan of that series. So next time Rob pays for a month of Netflix.
It could be. It could be on that list.
It'll be on that list. We got notes from David, Errol, Infinite Gary, Anonymous, Karl, who says congrats both on a new house and a new job for me. Thank you, Karl. Raf, Sasi, Sofa Baton posted on their Facebook page about the X2 remote. Now they're saying November. Right. Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah, I am thinking it'll come out before Christmas time this year. Fingers crossed. But we're definitely past summer. We're well past June.
Yeah, Steve, John in Ireland, Joe, who's ready to go co-host at any time, and he really thinks Henry should just bite the bullet and buy the Kaleidoscape already.
It's been bugging
Ilango, who considers himself a casual Star Trek fan, but thanks to Rob, highly recommend it. He watched and really enjoyed Lower Decks, and it was great to hear my hopeful news last week. He's really thankful that Tom has been willing to share this whole ordeal. It's really admirable. I didn't have a choice, so you're right. I was like, people say, "What are you up to?" Nothing.
The way in which you share things could have been done in any number of formats and any number of tones. So
that's right.
Ilango appreciated the way you chose to share.
Every once in a while, somebody will come up to me, "Hey, so what are you guys doing? And I'm like, "Oh, nothing." Oh. They'll casually come out. Oh well, yeah, we lost our house in the. Oh my god! Yeah. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it, man. It's fine. It's fine.
And I'm glad you liked Lower Decks, Ilango. It is a very fun show.
Jason and Dazz, who recently did a home inspection in Georgia, and he came across what might be his least favorite living room fireplace plus built-in TV shelf ever. Just why, he says. There's a fireplace. What is this situation I'm looking at? This is
an aesthetically unappealing design is what this is. Yeah, you've got a fireplace, which is totally normal, but it's not centered on the wall. So
No,
right
it's off
away,
to the left.
it looks
that's the
askew off to the left. And then in the space, which is larger on the right-hand side of the fireplace than it is on the left, but they've decided to put in a built-in place where you could have a little bit of storage, a little bit of bookcase, and then a place where the TV is clearly meant to go, very much limiting the size of the TV that can go in there. But the heights are different, and you've got this non-symmetrical placement of the fireplace and then this built-in cabinets on one side of the wall but not the other. And yeah, that is
go to the
not
Flickr album and look at this just so you can know what, because there's no way of describing this, and it doesn't. It actually looks like it's not even. Like it looks like it's angled up. It's very. I think it's just the angle of the camera or whatever, but it is very unattractive.
I don't know how someone could have drawn that and approved it. This looks like something that was built on the day with no planning involved.
I don't know. Like, we have this extra piece from this other house. You want us to put it over there? I mean, that's really what it looks like. And the fireplace looks, I mean, a lot of times fireplaces are put where they're put in a room because of structurally that's where the chimney can go. You know, so I kind of understand that. But then putting this thing off to the side as a built-in, like as a piece of furniture off to the side, that would have been fine.
If somebody had brought, the owners had brought it in and they had put it there, whatever. No, it's the fact that it's built. It's clearly a built-in structure.
With that, and it's so grandiose on the top.
Well, like, and then also none of the shelves on the right-hand side line up with any of the lines of the fireplace on the left-hand side. Like, some of those lines have to line up. It is just not correct design.
And then why is it one arch? Why they should have an arch on both sides? Like one's straight, one's an arch.
There's no symmetry. There's no echoing
the symmetry
of design.
is all off.
One of these.
All right, let's go through these names again.
Well, I can do that. Yeah. Because I had a comment there. Yeah. So let's see. We got Mark and David, Errol, Infinite Gary. I just wanted to say it was not an email to like everybody. It was just to me. But I just wanted. He had a loss recently. It was not not an unexpected one. So it's not like a great shock to the system. But there was a loss in his family recently. So condolences to Infinite Gary about that. But I didn't want to share anything that he didn't send publicly. So I'll leave it as vague as that. But yeah, after that, we got Anonymous, Karl, Raph, Sasi, Steve, John, Joe, Ilango, Jason, and Dazz. Lots and lots of names this week, but that's very, very nice. So thank you all so much for the notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really do appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
In the news, Emotiva has started refreshing their entry-level BasX A-Series amplifier models, and new BasX A2 Plus, A3 Plus, and A7 Plus offer the same power output as discontinued A2, A3, and A7 respectively, but now they have both XLR and RCA inputs. The old models only had RCA, and the prices have gone up significantly.
Yeah, because, this isn't just a little $20 to $50 markup here. This is a price jump.
Yeah. Now you get XLR.
You do get XLR.
Clearly worth it.
I don't think that quite explains the full price jump, but perhaps the tariffs do. Yeah.
I don't know. Are there really even tariffs? Are the tariffs in the room with us? I feel like there's... I don't really know what's going on with these tariff situations. I feel like... Yeah. Anyways, the A2 Plus is $799, which is up from $579. Whew. It's a bit of a jump. For the A2, and offers 2 channels of class AB amplification rated at 160 watts into 8 ohms, 250 watts into 4 ohms. The A3 is also priced at $799.
A3 Plus. Gotta be specific.
A3 Plus, up from $599, and has 3 channels rated at 140 into 8 and 200 into 4. Why would anybody buy the A2?
I mean, if you really only have a 2-channel setup, but otherwise, yes.
If you had a 2-channel setup, what if one of the channels goes bad? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the A3 Plus is pretty easy to justify when it is not even $1 more expensive.
Yeah. Anyways, 140 into 8, 200 watts into 4 ohms. All channels driven. Its 2-channel rated power is 150 into 8 and 250 into 4.
So essentially identical as the A2 Plus when it's 2 channels driven only on that A3 Plus. Yeah.
The A7 Plus gets us $1,000, $999. Price tag up from $719.
Yeah.
That's a stupid number. Delivering, you guessed it, 7 channels of amplification, is rated at 90 watts into 8, 125 watts into 4 ohms. All channels driven are 120 into 8 and 175 into 4 ohms, 2 channels driven.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There it is.
There it is. New amplifier models from Emotiva. Not exactly the tip-top value anymore. I'm definitely going to be cross-shopping with other available things out there. And yeah, since these are more or less, 100 to 150 watt into 8 ohm type of amplifier ratings, it's like I'm looking at those Buckeye amplifiers, which, granted, there's some compromises aesthetically that you might be making when you do that. But yeah, if you go to their least expensive Hypex Encore amps over there at Buckeye, it's now fewer dollars per channel that you're paying over there for lower distortion and a little bit more wattage. So yeah, there you go.
Ascendo.
Not to be confused with Ascend Acoustics. This is Ascendo out of Germany.
Ascendo sounds like they should have stretchy arms or something.
It could be a Superman villain, couldn't it?
Transform into a ladder. I am Ascendo.
Yeah.
Nothing is out of my reach. Has re-engineered their 2 infrasonic subwoofer models because the old 50-inch and 80-inch versions were just too puny. I saw this.
Yeah.
Ascendo's new the 64 and the 100. I'm sure the THE means something because it's all capitalized.
I don't think it means anything. I think they just wanted to call it the 100.
Okay. Well, the 64 and the 100 models, and as the name implies, they now boast a 64-inch and 100-inch diameter phone drivers. They are still sealed. So stupid. And passive. What does that mean? I read that and went, how is it passive?
There's no amplifier built into the box. You have to have external amplification for them. That's all that means.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
a passive speaker versus an active.
I was trying to figure out what the heck they were talking about.
No, just that they don't have an amplifier included in the box. You got to add a separate amplifier.
The new cabinets have a new bracing design at over 3 feet deep now because if you've got room for a 100-inch driver, you
100 centimeters in cabinet depth.
So stupid. They claim to be the leader in infrasonic bass, though no one's heard them. So who knows? And the 100 is now the largest subwoofer in the world. Who cares? Everything from the drivers to the motors to the suspension, damping, and closures was re-engineered. Because you had to, because there was nothing else. And they claim to have achieved deeper extension. Oh, good. Greater linearity and lower distortion and noise as a result. Well, the distortion was the only thing you were hearing to begin with. So that's not maybe a good thing. The new subwoofer models are only available through dealers and no prices are listed because if you have to ask, they're not for you.
Yeah.
So that's dumb.
Also, at 100 inches diameter, it is beginning to become directional at, about 38 hertz? That's the quarter wavelength of that. That's where you can begin to have some directionality there. Certainly, up at around 70 hertz, it's reasonably directional at that point. So you are not using these to a regular crossover point with your speakers at 100 inches diameter.
They're infrasonic. They don't play that. They're not supposed to play up that high. They only play at 19 hertz maybe.
Sure.
Comments. Sasi apparently found a bunch of free time somehow. He used to put together a spreadsheet that ranks lots of current speaker models by their actual measured anechoic sensitivity, not just the manufacturer's specs or marketing. He used data gathered from Aaron's Audio Corner, Audio Science Review, Audioholic Stereophile, and a handful of the places that provide clippable NFS or outdoor measurements. Sasi converted the measurements to... Sasi, what happened, dude? Did you Wait a second. Sasi, are you okay?
I know, right?
Did you go off your meds? Is that what happened? This sounds like something somebody would do in the middle of a manic episode.
He got into a project and decided he wanted to know.
I guess so. Sasi. Listen, we're here for you, bud. Just if you need to talk to anybody. Sasi converted all measurements to IEC standards for efficiency, focused between 300 hertz and 3 kilohertz, with nominal impedance within that range calculated based on the measured minimum impedance being not less than 80% of the nominal figure. Again, not just going by manufacturer specs here, which almost always seem to give the speakers a higher nominal impedance than what had been measured. With those figures calculated for measurements, by default, he ranked the speakers according to their sensitivity with 1 watt of amplifier power. But if you want to reorder them yourselves according to the 2.83 volt sensitivity, you can just copy his Google Doc into a new one of your own to edit the spreadsheet to your liking. So
I didn't even show the full spreadsheet there. I showed images as we were talking there, if you're looking at the YouTube version or following along in the Flickr album, but that is not the entire list. There's more below that. You can keep on scrolling.
It goes. There's how many speakers on here?
Yeah.
There's 96 rows. So, but it starts at 2. So there's 95. Okay. There's 95. So where's the, like, how is he ranking them? Oh, they're ranking them under sensitivity.
By their 1 watt sensitivity, which is going to be a different signal level because the actual wattage is going according to the nominal impedance, which he calculated as opposed to just taking the stated figure in the spec sheet. So yeah, all of this is based on measurement data that has then been converted to a common IEC standard and then ranked them that way based on 1 watt performance. Now, there are arguments that the 2.83 volt where the signal level is being held steady regardless of how many amps end up going into the speaker as a result of the actual impedance. So, holding the signal steady, there's arguments for that. You can do that. It's just in the link that we're linking to, it's read only, so you can't reorder them that easily. But if you just copy his Google Docs spreadsheet into your own, you can reorder them quite easily yourself, and you could do it by the 2.83 volt spec if you want to instead.
Oh, he needs to fix the Revel Ultima 2 Salon 2 one because it's got an error in there. He's got to fix, but he'll figure that out. But all this really tells you is which ones are the most sensitive. So I guess that's. I mean, Ascendo wins. In case you're wondering,
that's right.
Ascendo won, and Power Sound Audio is up there too. All right, exciting, weird. I wasn't expecting that. Good job, Sasi.
Yes.
Take a nap. I think you probably need one.
It is not something I would have done.
No, it's not. Questions. Ben, he's been listening to us for a long time, but this is his first time writing in. He has a 2.2 setup at the moment using Spendor D6.2 tower speakers plus a pair of KEF KC62 subs, all powered by a Hegel, we'll go with H390 integrated amp. The Hegel's RCA outputs connect to the subs. And the speakers are, of course, powered by its binding post. It works great.
Mm-hmm.
But he's moving to a new house, and he wants his new setup to be a 5.2.4 Atmos configuration. He's already got a Marantz Cinema 4D and B&W surrounds and Atmos speakers ready to go. He's got a Spendor, which, again, I've never heard of this, DC-1 monoblock amp to power his center. The Marantz will power the surrounds and overheads itself. He wants to continue using the Hegel H390 integrated amp to power his front, left, and right speakers and to act as its own dedicated 2-channel setup. Exactly the way he has it now. The Hegel has a home theater bypass input, so there's no problem connecting his Marantz's front, left, and right pre-outs. But how should he connect his 2 subs? He wants to easily be able to switch back and forth between the full Atmos system and a dedicated 2.2 channel system. Easily?
Well, I mean, not quite as easily as you might imagine because that Hegel doesn't have any crossover circuitry. It's just sending a full range signal to the speakers and a full range signal out of its line level outputs because it's not a dedicated subwoofer output. It's just a regular line level output and then relying on the subwoofer's own crossover dial to put in the low pass filter within the subwoofers themselves. So there's a I'll let Tom say what he suggests, but I've got a suggestion that I think might work across the board. I'm guessing you were thinking just, hey, have the line level output from the Hegel and the subwoofer output from the Marantz? Is that your first thought?
You could do that, I suppose, but with the subwoofer bypass, how does that work? I mean, the home theater bypass, how does that work with the Hegel? Is it going to take the 2 channels and then you said there's no crossover.
There's no crossover
circuitry in there, so it should in theory work.
Yeah, it should just pass along the line level signal, and then the home theater bypass is just making it so that the volume control of the Hegel is no longer in line. It's just acting as an amplifier at that point, and the volume dial on the Hegel no longer makes a difference. My suggestion is going to be a little bit of reconfiguration on here, and this will work because you happened to have chosen KEF's KC62 subwoofers, which themselves First of all, they have a line level input and a line level output. That's not that uncommon on subwoofers, but what is uncommon is that they actually do apply an optional high pass filter to those line outputs, meaning you can do a genuinely full crossover in the subwoofers that you own, right? You can apply the low pass filter for what the subwoofer plays via the crossover knob on the KC62 subs, and then also apply a high pass filter that's going out to then the amplifiers that power your left and right speakers. So it is, taking off the low bass from the speakers exactly the way we might want to. And you've got left and right inputs here, so you can have this going to both subwoofers as opposed to one of the subwoofers only being left and one of the subwoofers only being right. I wouldn't recommend that. I would have a Y splitter going so that both subs are getting both left and right. But what I would actually do is the Marantz I would set up as no subwoofer. No subwoofer setup in the speaker settings for the Marantz itself. Full range front, left, and right, and now that low frequency effects channel, the 0.1 channel, it will get folded into your front, left, and right outputs. That low frequency effects does not disappear when you say I have no subwoofer. It is not a subwoofer channel. It's a low frequency effects channel, and with the front, left, and right set to large in the Marantz, all of that information does get output. So that's going to come out of the front, left, and right pre-outs. Those front, left, and right pre-outs, I would Y-split and have them go into both of your KEF KC62 subwoofers. And now you can have a low-pass filter on the crossover knob for the subs themselves and set the high-pass filter for the left and right line outputs. Now, you'd only need one from each, left from one, right from the other. That's going to be perfectly fine. And those feed your stereo amplifier, which is going to be your Hagel. So now it's getting the full signal there. So yeah, that way would work so that you're not losing any information and not having to rewire anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm doing things. So where should the 4 Atmos speakers be placed? He's seen the Dolby diagrams where they are perfectly in line with the width of the front, left, and right speakers, but then there seems to be more up-to-date advice saying that to actually have them narrower than that. What do we say? We say go to avgadgets.com, and I've got some links for you. There's a positioning of surround Atmos speakers, which were more in line with what Dolby initially said.
Yeah.
Then I have an article talking about all the things that are wrong with those diagrams that they have in there.
It's based on angles as opposed to based on like lines and grids. Yeah. Lines and grids don't work out.
And then there is a update to a more recent update to the Dolby diagrams, which gives you more latitude in where you place them. It used to be, yes, you want them directly in line, and we've said that too. Mm-hmm. That's what they said, right in line. But we've also said it really doesn't make that much of a difference if they're a little bit off here or there. It really doesn't. So, yeah.
Yeah, my main thing is just on a purely practical level, let's even forget about angles, let alone lines and grids. It has never made sense to me that, okay, so look, if you have a seat that's way over to the side of your room, forget about that. I'm just talking, your 3-seater couch that's in front of your TV, facing the TV. For any speaker that is called the left speaker, right? So my front left speaker, my surround left speaker, my top front left speaker. For that 3-seater couch, all of those speakers should be a little to the left of the leftmost seat. It's never made sense to me for someone to argue that any speaker that is called a left speaker would actually be to the right of any of the listeners on like a 3-seater couch. Yeah. Like I said, you got a seat that's way over on your side. Well, okay, it's going to be to the right of them. But for that 3-seater couch, anything that is a left speaker should be to the left of those seats. That's the only thing that's ever made sense to me. So yeah, forgetting about angles and that, it's like, if what makes sense in your setup is, hey, my front, left, and right speakers are basically in line with the armrests of my 3-seater couch or slightly wider apart than my couch itself, then yeah, my top speakers are going to be pretty close to in line with those front, left, and right speakers, if that's the case. But if it turns out that, I'm sitting close enough, the angles are such, I'm closer to a plus and minus 30-degree spread in my front, left, and right speakers, so they might be a good distance wider apart than my seat, especially if maybe it's a single seat or a love seat, right? My front, left, and right speakers might be a good distance wider apart than my seats. In that case, my top speakers might be a little bit closer to each other than the front, left, and right speakers. I'm not going to say that they have to all form a line with each other like the Dolby diagrams, but I'm still going to have my top left speakers be to the left of my main group of seats and my top right speakers to the right of my main group of seats.
All right, Greg. Greg used to own a NAD's T777 receiver. He knows that I now have a T758 that Dan sent me, which I am using, and I like it.
Yeah.
He thought that 777 was a nice piece of equipment, but Audio Science Review posted a review saying the measurements of its distortion levels were very poor. Or pretty poor, maybe not very poor. He honestly doesn't obsess over stuff that's said on forums. He just wants to know, what do we make of these sorts of measurements and conclusions? Do I notice anything wrong with the sound of my NAD receiver? Are these poor distortion levels actually audible? Or is it just something for forum people to argue about? So when we talk about distortion levels or signal to noise ratios and all these other things, there is what you can measure and there is what you can hear.
Yeah.
And this is true of speakers. This is true of amplifiers. It's true of a lot of audio equipment. So, I can put something on a test bench and I can make it make noise that it's not supposed to make. I can make it distort. I could put a speaker, connected to an amp, and I can make it do things it's not supposed to do. The question is, during use in your room, is it ever going to happen, or is it ever going to be audible?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Audible is the key.
When you are, people are like worried about their subwoofers having enough headroom or whatever. You're like, listen, how much headroom does it need? At some point, it's just too much.
The whole infrasonic worry came about because people are like, hey, if getting down truly flat to 20 hertz, which was not a common thing. You don't have to go that far back in time.
You don't.
Genuinely getting down flat to 20 hertz was not easy to do affordably. But it is now. But the whole reasoning was, well, if getting down to 20 flat is good, then getting down below 20 must be even better, right? That's right. The logic that's led us astray on this whole infrasonic nonsense.
So a lot of times Rob will say, if you're worried about the noise floor of an amplifier or something, you would plug it in, turn your volume up to whatever, like reference level if you can.
0 dB.
Turn up to reference level, no content playing, and then go up to your speaker and listen. Yeah. And you will almost certainly hear something.
You'll hear a little hiss from the tweeter. I've never come across any amplifier that is literally dead silent, except for the truly digital amplifiers of the Panasonic receivers that were out there for a while. Those literally turned off when nothing was playing. Yeah.
Which was hard. It's hard to beat off. Yeah. So you'll hear something, right? But then you're like, oh my God, I can hear something. Something's wrong with my, now my music is going to be all messed up. No. You go back to your seat and you're like, can you still hear it? No? Well, then it doesn't matter. Yeah. So what are these poor distortion levels meaning?
Yes.
Well, comparison, you compare one amplifier to another amplifier, or one receiver in this case to another receiver, you might say this one's distortion is higher and maybe a more high than I expected it to be, sort of thing. Okay, but are you ever going to hear it? I've never heard it. Right. I've sat there with no content playing on my couch, sitting away from KEF speakers, which are decent speakers, and never thought to myself, what's that hiss? Because believe me, I would notice it. My wife gets mad at me all the time. I'm like, what is that noise? She's like, I don't hear anything. I'm like, there is something. And I'm like, okay. And I go find it, and that was definitely something, and she hears it once I point it out to her. But, this is not something I would worry about, and it's not something I experienced with this NAD.
You haven't been listening to all of this stuff and gone, goodness gracious, the harmonic distortion from this NAD amplifier is just unacceptable.
It's unbearable,
because it was measured towards the lower end of Audio Science Review scale. Honestly, I'm not even going to blame what Audio Science Review wrote about this for you having come to this conclusion. I don't blame you for having come to this conclusion, because the thing I blame is the color coding of the chart, where all of everything that has been measured over at Audio Science Review gets thrown into their singular SINAD chart for, they have one for amplifiers and then they have one for preamplifiers.
Is part of it red?
And part of that scale is red, and that's what it is. It falls into the part of the thing that's color coded red, and everyone goes, "Oh my gosh!" because it goes from red to yellow to orange to yellow to green, right? So the ones in the green are clearly the best, and objectively the numbers are the highest for SINAD or the lowest for total harmonic distortion. Those are basically inverses of each other, and so yeah, it's the color coding. It's really the color coding, because honestly, what was written in the review itself, in the text of the review, and he even has graphs for this as well. He's like, as far as comparing it to other mass market receivers that are on the market, it lands right in the middle. Right in the middle for distortion level. It's like, it's not the very best. It's definitely not the very worst. Lands right in the middle of the pack. But then compared to everything else that has ever been measured on Audio Science Review, particularly for pre-amp signal output levels, it's towards the lower end of the scale, because they're measuring the crazy, Eigentakt amplifiers, and they're measuring the benchmark amplifiers that are going for academically perfect performance, and so they're way up there in the green end of the scale, and then everything that falls below that is in a worse, scarier looking color, and this NAD ended up being in the red section. But yeah, no, it lands squarely in the middle of every other receiver. And then yes, Gene over at Audioholics, I'm going to link to his YouTube video where he explained this. He called it Stop Chasing SINAD, which, a little bit of a clickbait title there, because measuring SINAD or total harmonic distortion, however you want to quote the figures, is not a bad thing to do. But this idea that you just have to keep going to higher and higher, right? We are fairly used to in amplifiers looking at that total harmonic plus distortion figure, right? And we're used to, on amplifiers, a lot of them being spec'd at 0.1% total harmonic distortion plus noise. That's a pretty common thing, is 0.1% for the amplifier output. That equates to it should be actually a negative sign, but negative 80 decibels SINAD. That's what it would be. And this NAD measured 84. Okay, so we now have these crazy Class D Eigentakt amplifiers that are measuring over negative 100 for SINAD on the output. So it's not at the top end of the technology scale, but it is better than 0.1% total harmonic distortion plus noise on the amplifier output. And then we want it to be at least an order of magnitude better in terms of harmonic distortion percentage. So 0.01% for the preamplifier end of the output. That would equate to a minus 60 dB SINAD for the preamp output. And this NAD measured 74. Okay, so again,
that sounds pretty bad. Actually,
we have ones out there that are even better, well, way over 100 at this point. But there's nothing to worry about, and it's frankly not audible whatsoever. It's just because it fell into the part of the scale that was color coded red. That's the only scary part.
Greg has heard various electrostatic speakers. He thought the difference of their sound compared to traditional speakers, especially when it comes to imaging, was obvious, and he posted to a forum to discuss his enjoyment of electrostatic speakers. Ha ha! There's your problem. But the thread got hijacked by people insisting that in the blind comparisons, the audible difference in imaging are not actually there unless there's a flaw in one pair of speakers. But is blind listening honestly necessary when differences seem this big and obvious? My God.
Well,
all right. So, Rob, have you ever really sat down and listened, Rob, to really expensive electrostatic speakers where the imaging is just crazy good?
Yes.
You've done that,
right?
Yeah,
not in my house. This was admittedly at a dealer showroom. But
yes, me too. I have, Yes, I didn't have $20,000 speakers in my house.
20,000? No. That ain't nothing.
Well,
these were 80,000 plus.
So, first of all, forum people are stupid. They're a groupthink band of thugs.
Well, it's also just you have to be contrarian. It's like an unwritten rule. You post on a forum, you have to be contrarian.
You do not need to know. You do not need to have a test, a blind listening test, to know that there is a difference between the sound a Ferrari makes when it starts up and a sound that a Tesla makes when it starts up. Okay. They are miles apart. And in a blind test, you would never have to do it because you can already pick it out 100 out of 100 times. It's never, the only time you need a blind test is when the differences are so small as to be, debatable when you're within yourself as you're experiencing. You're like, I think it's this one, but I'm not 100%
I'm not going to
sure.
100% agree with that. Just because, I mean, well, it's like, the blind test is certainly necessary if you're going to make some kind of clinical trial claim. Okay, so whatever. That's a silly argument on that side. But there are the scenarios where I'm going more from the sort of psychological side of I am sure within myself that this difference is very, very big, so I don't think there's any reason to do a blind test. But there can be an error in that thinking. So
there can be, yeah, for sure.
So I'm not going to say that it's all the time that if you're
we're not
very
talking about within one
to
person though.
Sure.
When I say that, I'm not saying that you are sure you can pick it out 100 of 100 times. I'm saying that you could grab a random person off of the street and they will get it right 100 out of 100
I'll
times.
just modulate by saying that I think that difference actually has to be maybe a little bit bigger than you imagine before I'm going to say that you truly do not need to do a blind test to confirm. But then the flip side of this, so first of all, those foreign people who are doing that are just being contrarian and just being silly. And so look, in an anechoic chamber, you listen to virtually any pair of speakers, as long as the two speakers are matched to each other, you should get fantastic imaging as long as you are held very steady in your listening position precisely midway between those two speakers. But as soon as you get into a room where there are acoustics and reflections, then the differences between an electrostatic speaker and any regular wide dispersion speaker is very, very obvious and readily and easily heard by any person, blind listening test or not. So no, you don't need a blind listening test to confirm, but they are going on the academic route of, in an anechoic chamber setting, then you'd need the blind comparison to make your claims that one has definitively and inherently better imaging than the other, minus the variables of anything else in the world, which is not how we listen in reality.
Yeah. Ben says he's a long-time AVRant listener, but this is his first time writing again.
We've had a couple of those, so welcome to feeling comfortable enough finally to writing to us. I like that.
I guess we're no longer scary. He wants to know if swapping out his Yamaha Avantage A2080 receiver will actually make a result in an audible upgrade. Probably not, but let's go. This is a living room setup. The space is roughly 13 by 20 feet long, but it's open, so it's bigger than that because it's open on one side to the kitchen and dining area, so the total volume area is much larger. It doesn't have a formal acoustic treatments. He just has the informal ones. They're in a polo. But it is not an echoey space. There is a large 5 by 5 foot by 4 foot canvas on frame painting behind the main sofa, which, unless it's full of insulation, doesn't do much.
He didn't mention that there being insulation within that frame. There might be. He just didn't specifically say.
Yeah. Plus 11 foot by 13 foot rug on the floor, which does something. Plenty of books and pillows and furniture to break up the hard reflective surfaces of the room.
That does something for sure.
That does something. Yeah. It's not the same, but it's fine. He's currently using a 77-inch LG C8 OLED for the display that will get upgraded to a TV with HDMI 2.1. at some point, but no immediate plans to replace that. His Yamaha is powering a 5.2.4 configuration of SVS Prime Pinnacle Towers, Ultra Evolution Center, Prime Satellites, and 4 Polk OWM3 height speakers. The subs are a pair of SVS SB3000s positioned in diagonally opposite corners and crossed over, I bet, of the space, not of the room.
I would imagine of the living room area and not the literal acoustic space. So that has the openings to the kitchen and the dining room. Yes.
Diagonally opposite corners and crossed over a minimum of 80 hertz to all of his speakers. A couple of tips he picked up from us. So if you were to replace his A2080 receiver with, say, a Denon X3800H or 4800H, and he paid for all of the extra charges to add direct live room correction, bass control, and art as soon as it becomes available, will that result in actual audible difference? Should he wait until he is ready to upgrade his TV as well and only do the receiver upgrade then? Is Drac overhyped? Is there actually a there, or is there actually a there? I don't know what that means. But anyways, no. I guess it's going to be my short version. So is there a chance that you will make an upgrade to your receiver and then afterwards go, I hear a difference and I think this was totally worth all this money I just spent? There is a chance that you will say that.
Okay.
will everybody in the house agree with you? I think that the my experience would be when I think that there has been a very audible and very obvious change to the sound in my room. Right. My wife has never agreed with me on that. And not once has any child of mine said, wow, Dad, I noticed a difference. And unprompted.
Yeah, yes. Particularly unprompted, yes.
And this is when I know there is a difference because I have made major changes to like adding speakers.
Did you do a blind listening comparison, Tom? A blind listening comparison?
I didn't do a blind listening test. And I'm like, no one else notices but me. And I know that there is a difference because it is very obvious to that there is more bass than there was before, that things are evener than they were before, that there's more speakers than there were before, there's room treatments that weren't in there before. All these things have changed. And everybody's like, well, no, sounds kind of the same to me. So I don't think that you're going to take this volume controlled, meaning your space is not an enclosed rectangle, where you've got room treatments up and you've done all the things that you need to do. Because really the difference you're going to get in here is the room. You're talking about room correction. Yeah. And I don't know that the room correction is going to be able to make enough of an audible difference for you to think. You may think of that first, but then over time you'll go, I don't really know if this was worth it. I don't think it's going to be worth the expenditure, personally. Now, I'm not saying that you won't, that it's impossible for you to notice a difference, and that maybe that difference will be great. I think it's just as likely that the difference will be either there'll be no difference, or you'll feel like it's not as good as it was before. So you are taking that risk if you had a room that was a rectangle that you had lots of room treatments in, and you were controlling for all these things, and you could place your subwoofers properly. I could say with some confidence that upgrading your room correction can and will make an audible difference to you. But I still wouldn't even say it was going to be a massive difference. It would be something.
In fact, it shouldn't be if you have a really well set up and treated room. Is a little cherry on top.
So in this space, it's just as likely to make a negative as a positive difference. But the most common, I think, result will be no difference.
Yeah. So I mean, if all you want to do is like for sure hear a difference, then having Dirac will allow that to be possible, because you can make all kinds of manual changes in Dirac that you can't make in YPOW, because that doesn't have a ton of manual configurability as far as its target curve goes. So you can go nuts on the target curve in Dirac and absolutely force the issue to make sure you hear a difference. But if you're not doing that, if you're closer to default settings or going for more of a subtle correction that isn't way out in left field with crazy manual changes. Look, I haven't experienced Dirac's art yet. Their active room treatments. I haven't experienced that yet. I don't know how successful and great it is or is going to be once Den and AVRant implement it. But if anything, we're going to make a change based on something closer to default settings or just subtle tweaks manually to the target curve, not wild swings in changes, manual changes, then it's going to be art in your situation. It's going to be the active room treatment thing, because what you're lacking right now is any sort of acoustic treatment that is addressing the crossover region from speakers to subwoofers. You don't really have anything right now that's addressing that. You have the dual subwoofers, which are helping you in the lowest bass to get somewhat better uniformity and linearity in the deep bass. You've got some things that are breaking up the hard reflective surfaces. That's helping you in the vocal range and in the treble. But it's that problem area, it's that lower mid-range to upper bass area, which requires really quite thick passive room treatments, or on a technical level, on a theoretical level at least, I don't know, I haven't heard it to confirm yet, but that active room treatment is what would do there. So if anything we're going to make a difference, it's going to be active room treatment, it's going to be Dirac art, but I can't confirm that. I don't know for sure that that's what it's going to be. My advice at this point would be, if you were willing to spend all that money on this receiver and all of the Dirac upgrades, I would sooner spend that on room treatments. Yes. And either ones that are double as decoration, or, you can use those like upper wall to ceiling edges. You've probably got cabinets, at least in the kitchen, that have that space above the cabinets. Maybe you've got other shelves and stuff in the living room area where above those, in an area that's not going to be an eyesore, you can have really quite thick insulation that's in there that, instead of it being a gap between the top of the shelf and the ceiling, now that's all just insulation that's covered with black fabric or fabric that matches the color of your walls. That's where I would spend the money right now.
Yeah. And even taking that the pictures that you have in the room and getting some insulation and putting it in the back of those would be a good first step. As much as you can. I told my wife, I'm like, listen, if we're going to buy generic artwork for we're going to, for our house, we're going to do it through Acoustimac, which is in town here.
Yeah, but I'm not going to dismiss that Dirac art could potentially make a genuinely audible and worthwhile difference. I just also can't confirm it at this point.
Yeah. That's why I'm hesitant to give my blessing for it, because I think you're just as likely to get to the other side and go, not only did it not make a difference that make it better, it actually kind of made it worse. So that could also happen.
We don't know at this point.
David in Japan. David is still on his U.S. military deployment in Japan, but he has now moved off base and into the American style house with a small but enclosed and dedicated room for his home theater setup. Nice.
Yeah.
He visited one of the higher-end national used electronic stores while he was in Tokyo, and as he had hoped, they had a pair of KEF LS50 Meta speakers available. They're in a fantastic shape, so he bought them to use in place of his RBH Signature Series speakers, which have always sounded great, but they're simply too large now that he has a much smaller room to work with. Fair enough.
Yeah.
While he was at the store, he got to see the B&W Nautilus speakers for the first time in person. Those things they look like those snails. I don't know what else to say.
They're like the conch
horribly positioned and no room treatments at all. But hey, at least the amplifiers power them were as big as refrigerators, so you gotta love that audiophile stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, he briefly tried out his RBH speakers in the new room, but they looked downright massive in there, and that convinced him to switch to the much smaller KEFs. During a short trial run with the RBHs, he ran into an issue they'd always worried about ever since moving to Japan. Technically, their electrical grid runs at 110 volts, but half of the country is at 60 hertz and the other half is at 50 hertz. The split happened after the 2011 earthquake, when there was no way to divert power from the western side of the country to the eastern side. That is nuts, by the way. I read this question in the email and I was like, man, it's so amazing to me how much we don't know other people have to deal with.
Yep.
And it's not like, I know Japan's not close, but that was a big deal. How did I not know that was a thing? Anyways, while he was stationed on the American military base, he had stable electrical power, but now his new place is delivering less than 100 volts from the outlets and at 50 hertz. His dented receiver did not like this. After initially powered on, the click from its power relay just kept clicking and clicking, and when it fully activated, it was in protection mode, but it rendered the receiver useless. So, it was easy enough to get a step-up converter, and now his receiver functions just fine. But he is wondering, is there a nicer-looking way to accomplish the power conversion that he needs? Because the step-up converter is rather industrial-looking. Now, I've used these.
Yep.
Not only are they industrial-looking, they're also a little loud.
Yep.
They make noise. So your question is there another device like a power conditioner that we often talk about here? And the answer is almost certainly yes. And it's almost certainly very expensive. So like way more expensive than just using this box.
It could be like an online battery backup situation where the devices you have plugged into that online battery backup are actually always drawing power from the battery, and the plug that goes into your wall outlet is only there to keep recharging the battery continuously, that you are always drawing the power from the battery. That's kind of the only alternative.
That IO gear that I used to have before it got flooded probably would work in this situation.
I don't know. Well, I guess he's not drawing very much power in this tiny room. For even if he had his two subs and his receiver plugged in, they're never actually drawing gigantic amounts of power. But there are limits since it's always coming off the battery. So
I had mine running in my room off the battery. Like sometimes I would have it running directly from mains, and sometimes I would have it running just off the battery for a while, just to see how. And it operated just fine. Now the question is, how is it going to operate? How well is it going to deal with getting power from the wall?
They're not always silent either. Some of them make a little bit of humming noise.
The IO Gear I had a fan, so not only was it not silent, it was definitely not silent. So is that something that you want? Probably not, because you're going to spend a lot of money on something that maybe isn't doing everything in the way that you want it to be done. And also, once you get out of this situation, you're going to be like, I'm never using this thing again.
Also, I'm not exactly going to argue that those online battery backups look not industrial. I mean, they're just big old black rectangles. So, but
the step-up converters are like, they're really ugly.
Right.
they don't fit. They don't fit in an equipment rack in any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, the IO Gear at least kind of looks like it kind of goes into...
Yeah, it kind of looks like a piece of gear.
I mean, I'm not suggesting the IO Gear. I'm actually suggesting that you just continue to use the step-up converter.
Yeah, me too.
Because I don't really think there's a better solution for it. And it's only because it's almost always a temporary problem.
That's right.
For people. So there's
we know he
no
moves
reason
frequently.
to create like a
he moves a lot. So
there's no real reason to create something that you're going to have to that it's going to look good as well as do the job.
Right.
You just need something that's going to do the job for as cheaply as possible, because people know they're not going to be using it forever.
Yeah.
So we discovered a problem with one of his SVS PB1000 subs, but SVS customer service said their amp supports all different global power standards, which is true. Mm-hmm. So after running a few tests with them, they've determined he needs a replacement amp, and they've sent that on his way. It's on its way to him. So 2 issues have been resolved. The third is with the Denon DBP 1611 DVD player that he picked up for the equivalent of about $70 to play his small collection of CDs and SACDs. He tried out with its HDMI output plugged into the receiver's front panel HDMI input, and it worked fine. But when he plugged it into one of the rear HDMI inputs for a more permanent installation, no sound came out. None of the rear HDMI ports worked. In fact, his Apple TV 4K worked just fine plugged into any of those ports. So it was somehow just a combination of a Denon DVD player and a Xenon receiver. What's up with that? Mm-hmm. He has resorted to using their digital coax connection. Is he missing out on anything by using that instead of HDMI? The answer is no.
Well, no, he could be, because that player can do DVD audio, and that's not going to come out of the digital coax. Yeah.
And is there any way to get the rear HDMI ports working with this player? I don't know why the rear HDMI ports wouldn't work with this player to begin with.
It's almost certainly that HDCP copy protection thing, where by default, it's set to HDCP 2.2.
Right.
And you're going to have to lower that in the settings to the HDCP 1.4 and set it to the standard HDMI for HDMI 2.0 standard instead of enhanced, which you can do on an input by input basis. So that front port is set to the lower standard by default, and all of the rear ports are set to enhanced and HDCP 2.2 by default. You lower that down to HDCP 1.4 and standard instead of enhanced bandwidth, and that player should start working again on one of those rear inputs.
I mean, is he really playing any DVD A's on this thing?
I don't know, but that's what he's missing out by not using by using a digital coax instead of HDMI, because it outputs it as multi-channel PCM, and digital coax and optical cannot support multi-channel PCM. They can do 2-channel PCM or encoded Dolby Digital.
The SACD, if he's playing SACDs and CDs and he's getting sound, then from the digital coax. I mean, clearly there's a solution. So
you're getting 2-channel sound, which is obviously fine for CDs.
Yeah. And most SACDs are 2-channel anyways.
Most are. Some were multi-channel though, so that's another one.
Yeah. So here comes my coffee. Hold on.
Yes. Coffee delivery.
Coffee delivery from my Eagle Scout. So anyways, he's quite happy with the KEF LS50 meta speakers now in place of his much larger RBH speakers. So now it's time to fill out the rest of the speaker setup. We said the KEF offers single LS50s, but he couldn't find any in Japan. Plenty of pairs for sale though. And unless he goes for the least expensive Q-series center model, getting a pair of used LS50s is actually less expensive than getting a dedicated KEF center. So should he just buy a pair of LS50s and have a spare speaker on hand?
Yes.
I mean, that's what I would do.
Straight ahead from me. Yes.
I mean, there's no reason. I mean, if it's getting a dedicated center speaker is going to be more expensive than getting a pair of these speakers. Yeah. I mean, at least you have an extra.
Yep. Or sell one.
Something
Offset the
goes
cost
wrong.
A little bit. Yeah. There's probably someone else out there somewhere in Japan who'd like a center.
Yeah, that's true too. You could always sell it, or you could just put it in the closet like Rob does and hoard all your electronic gear.
Absolutely.
All right, his trickiest decision is which speakers to get to use for surrounds and precisely where to place them. He sent in a few photos so we can get a bit of a better idea of his room. It is small. Yep. It's got a mini split. It's got a what is that? Is that an air purifier to the left of the couch?
That might be the power converter.
Oh no, they're usually not that big.
Okay, then maybe not.
No,
I don't know
that's
what that is
not.
For sure then.
No, I would be shocked if that's what that was. There's a window to the left. Yeah. It's not exactly a rectangle. That looks like it's got kind of a trapezoidal shape here. There's looks like a panel kind of leaning against the wall behind the couch.
Sure. Yeah, this isn't final.
On one side of the couch, on the other side of the couch, there's
closet on the back wall, entry door on the right wall. Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, he's got things. He's a bit concerned about potentially bumping into any wall-mounted surround speakers if he mounts it right beside the door. And putting it beside the door on the right wall would also mean the surround speaker on the left wall would be a bit further back, given where the window is located. He could put both surround speakers up higher, above the door, on the right wall and directly beside the mini split AC unit on the left wall, but of course they'd now be noticeably elevated. What do we think he should do in terms of placement? Let's just start with that. Yeah. I have no problems with them being higher than your higher, basically. Yeah. To me, I would put one just to the left of the mini split.
Okay.
And one above the door on the right.
Yeah.
And they're going to be right near the ceiling, like almost like Atmos speakers, but they're going to be surrounds, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I agree in this setup. That way, I mean, not that I was very concerned about one of them being slightly in front of the other, but that way they aren't. They're the same distance behind your seats from each other, yet they're elevated, and then you have your choice of any of the wedge-shaped KEF speakers, of which there are several.
Yeah. So he says KEF does have wedge-shaped speaker models that can be easily wall-mounted. There's the Q50A, R8A, both of which are readily available, used and at affordable prices. And the newer Q8 Meta, R8 Meta, you can only find those brand new right now, and they're more expensive. Would they be worth it? No.
Nope. Get yourself some used Q50As. You can find those. Those are going to be great for your surrounds, and I think that solves the issue.
It's kind of the current Q Meta series has the Q4 Meta model that's not wedge shaped. It's 5 whatever. It doesn't matter because we're
unnecessary at this point. Yeah, that would only be if they were closer to ear level, and I don't think it's necessary. They're not that slim. They're almost 6 inches deep, especially if you do get the optional grill, because KEF sells those separately. Then at that point they're essentially 6 inches thick. No, I do the wedge shaped ones above the door, equal across the room on the other side beside the window beside the AC mini split, and I think you'll be golden.
Errol wrote us previously regarding various upmixing options for older movies that are encoded in the original version of Dolby Surround. The old Pro Logic decoders used to do a perfect job of separating the center and surround information that was matrixed into the 2-channel signal, but he's been dissatisfied with the modern Dolby Surround upmixer and DTS Neural X upmixer, so he made a suggestion for the Anthem MRX520 receiver, since it still uses the original Dolby Pro Logic decoder. That purchase hasn't happened yet, though, because his honeymoon is coming up.
Congratulations!
You better buy it now, because you ain't buying it after.
Right.
Just letting you know. But it took me, years to get to the point where I got to start to buy AV gear again. So
roll it all into that credit card charge, and it'll get overlooked. It'll just melt into all the other charges.
It will not. In the meantime, though, he came across something very strange, and he's just wondering if we can explain it. One of his many Criterion Collection discs, plus the fan-made restorations of the Star Wars films, they have taken the original Dolby Surround 2-channel soundtracks and put them into DTS-HD master audio containers. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I've always wanted that. But for anything that's in Dolby Digital, Dolby True HD, or uncompressed 2-channel PCM container, it either plays just in 2-channel stereo, or you can apply an upmixer to it. But for some reason, with these 2.0 channel DTS HD master audio encodes, his Denon X1700H receiver plays them back using his full 5.1 speaker setup. No Neural X upmixer being applied. Okay, and so. Yeah,
so he's got images that he sent in just looking at the info that you can bring up from the Denon receiver. So signal coming in, it shows just the front left and front right as signal coming in being active. But in DTS HD master audio, this is not with upmixer applied, just straight DTS HD master audio decoding. It is saying that the active speakers are a 5.1 set.
Right.
Left, right, center, surround, pair of surrounds, and the subwoofer. Whereas then on the very same movie, this is the fan redone version of the original Star Wars. If he goes to the Dolby Digital soundtrack, which is the same, again, just front, left, and right signals coming in, and then only front, left, and right and his subwoofer as active speakers playing in a 2.1 stereo listening mode. So he's like, how did the DTS HD Master Audio know to decode that as 5.1? It was originally a Dolby Surround mix, which was front, left, and right signals, but then had discrete center and surround information matrixed into those front, left, and right original signals. So like, how did it pull it out to 5.1?
So with the semi-discrete center and surround active, it's the best he's heard these mixes sound in his setup. It only happens with these specific DTS HD mixes. He's looked around online and nobody seems to have any explanation for how it works. So can we explain what's going on? How is a 2.1 signal resulting in semi-discrete 5.1 output without any upmixer being applied? So he's saying that there's actual sound coming from all 5 of these speakers.
That's right. And I mean, the surrounds are in mono. So that's a mono surround signal, because that was always the case in those original mixes, a four channel mix. But it's just that, the 5 speakers are active because it's playing the surrounds in mono.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be happening. That's not how it should work. So this is what normally happens. If you take a stereo mix and you dump it into a surround encoding, right? Then what happens is normally your left and right speakers will get the sounds they're supposed to get. Your center channel and your surround channels will get essentially silence. Because it's being put into a container that's expecting a 5.1 mix. Okay, your bass management should be able to take whatever going into the it'll recognize that there's no 0.1 in this situation. And it will look at the sounds that are coming to all the rest of the speakers, 3 of which are getting no sound and 2 of which are getting all of the sounds, and it'll take the front, left, and right speakers and then apply bass management, so you'll still get stuff out of your subwoofer. But you shouldn't be getting anything out of your center or your surrounds, because the container will, by definition, have it be nothing. There'll just be silence going there. So what's happening is, for whatever reason, I would guess that that even though it's a DTS HD, whatever it is, it's somehow being sent through as a stereo mix and not a surround mix. And then that's how the upmixing is being applied, because there shouldn't be any sound coming out of those other 2 speakers.
Yeah,
3 speakers.
My answer is, a little bit of educated speculation, because I don't know for certain that this is the case, but it's the only logical explanation that I can come up with, which is the DTS encoding and the Dolby encoding are different systems, kind of fundamentally. DTS has always retained the original DTS core, and then everything above that, all the suffixes throughout history that that have been added onto it really were like additional metadata that has been added to that original DTS core in the mixing. Dolby is kind of separate. Like they're kind of deriving the Dolby Digital 5.1 now. It's not that there is like a baseline level that then gets added onto. They're doing, it's a different encoding system between Dolby and DTS. So there was a provision in the old DTS because DTS-ES had two different versions. There was DTS-ES Discrete and there was DTS-ES Matrix. And in DTS-ES Matrix, you could have an original 2-channel soundtrack. That was your original DTS core. If you played it back strictly through a DTS decoder, all you'd get out of it would be 2-channel playback. But if it had the add-on information of DTS-ES Matrix and you played it through a DTS-ES Matrix decoder, you could pull out the center, and it actually had separate left and right surrounds in their matrix encoding. And so all of that still exists within DTS-HD Master Audio. It is like backwards compatible with all of that. So this would have had to have been carefully encoded as a DTS-ES Matrix encoding inside of this DTS-HD Master Audio container, but that is technically possible, and it's the only explanation I can think of.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen. Where are we at time-wise? We got time. Chris wrote us a few weeks ago after having moved into a new house and setting up his surround sound in his new family room. Given where opening and walkways are placed, there's no convenient way to run wires to his surround speakers and his subwoofer, but he quickly found success using a wireless subwoofer kit off of Amazon, so he asked if he should get a second identical wireless kit for his surrounds. We mentioned that the same wireless kit would only work for him if his AV receiver has a full set of pre-outs, and we weren't sure which receiver model he was using, so we recommended the Anthony Model 1700 wireless amplifier kit, since that can accept either line level or speaker level inputs from the receiver. The Anthony is only $99, and he's totally fine getting it if it's the best choice, but he wanted to update us that his receiver is a Denon X3400H, so it does have a full set of pre-outs, and he already has a Fosse V3 amp on hand, which could provide power to his pair of surround speakers. So with that in mind, should you still just get the Anthony, or would we suggest the wireless audio kit instead? Or could we suggest a wireless audio kit instead to use along with this Fosse amp? I mean, I think $99 is pretty good. I'm tempted it gets much cheaper than that.
I'm tempted to say to go with the Anthony for two reasons. One, it's one less power plug that you have to put in there, because if you do the wireless kit plus your Fosse amp, that's two power plugs for two separate devices. A little bit more connection, because you're gonna have to run a wire from the wireless kit into the Fosse amplifier, so it's a little bit more wires going on. Then the price differential really is nothing. there's because the Anthony Model 1700 really doesn't cost that much. So I'm kind of saying that. And then the other reason is just purely on the technical level. The wireless kit that he pointed to, if you actually get an identical one, that's the one that I mentioned. It comes pre-paired with no provision for repairing. There is no way to repair. So I don't know what frequency they're using. I don't know how much interference you might get between two sets of those kits. So if I were to do it just to be on the safe side, I would get a different wireless kit just to be on the safe side. You can certainly do that, but given how inexpensive the Anthony is, and given that it saves you a power plug and one other wire, I think I would just get the Anthony, honestly.
Yeah. He spotted the Emotiva's new BasX CD1 Precision CD Transport, priced at $500. He's kind of drawn to the idea of a dedicated CD player, plus it would perfectly match the looks of his other Emotiva gear that he already owns. But that seems kind of crazy high for price-wise. Yeah, $500. They tout that it offers gapless playbacks of discs, which is definitely a solution for a problem that exists.
I mean, it means it has a small amount of buffer memory, which we've had for quite a while as far as CD. I remember.
So does my car.
I had my old CD disc man, and I could jog around for quite a while before that thing would skip and not have gapless playback. So yeah, it's got a buffer in there. Hooray!
It can play the CD layer of hybrid SACD and CD discs.
Yeah.
Good for you. And he checked the online manual, and even provide shuffle or repeat functions.
Yeah.
It really is a disk transport, as they say. So he's pretty sure he won't be swapping out his Oppo BTP-93, which also plays every kind of music disc perfectly fine.
I should say not.
But can we explain the price point of his Emotiva BasX CD1?
Yeah, they're not going to sell very many of them.
Yeah, if you're not going to sell a lot, they better cost a lot.
It's a very particular crowd that they're going after. They're not going to sell a lot of them. So to make it financially viable to do a single manufacturing run when they're sold out, they're sold out. I'm almost certain of that. And financially, that's the only way it makes sense on a business level.
Yeah, that's great. I think you should get 3 of them. The rest of us won't. RAF in Australia. As we are aware, the exact model numbers for TVs can be different in different countries, and sometimes the specs are not identical, such as the case with his 98-inch TCL C855. It's very close to the North American QM851G, but it seems to list a few differences here and there on the spec sheet. Mm-hmm. So rather than following Erting's setting suggestions for the QM851G, he asked ChatGPT what his settings should be specifically for the Australian C855 model, and of course it generated the reply because it's not going to say I don't know.
It confidently lied to him. Fantastic. Yes.
Tell you what, ChatGPT is automated mansplaining. Is what it is. In case you're wondering what it is.
I mean, it is trained on the internet, and a lot of the internet is mansplaining. So yeah, that ain't far off.
It's answering with confidence regardless. We saw a ChatGPT response to how long your crank should be on your bicycle, which is where the pedal attaches, right? Yep. And it confidently said that Jonas Vingegaard, who came in second in the last 2 Tour de France's and won 3 years ago, rides 122 millimeter cranks. Mm. Now, for those of you who live in America, 122 millimeters is like, I mean, it's very small. It's quite small. Okay. His little feet would be going like this. But it was, people are like, oh yeah, that's what it says. Yeah, that's what it says. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Anyways, don't ask ChatGPT things. But one of the things it said to do was to go into the service menu. Don't do that. Its instructions for what code to use to unlock the TCL service menu worked, by the way, and to manually set the WCG, the wide color gamut setting, to wide. He ventured into the service menu as instructed, but could not find any such WCG setting to adjust. The color space, I was going to say, don't ever go into the service menus if you don't know what you're doing, because many times, and I cannot stress this enough, many times in the service menus, there is no reset.
Right.
There's no like, oh, I screwed it up. Go back to default.
Yeah.
You have changed it irrevocably. You need to remember, like there was a big deal when I was going through the THX class for video calibration. It was like, if you go into service menus, write down everything you see before you touch anything. You must write it all down, because that is once it's changed forever. You have to go back in and to change it back. Anyways, the color space is currently set to auto in the regular user menu. Should he just leave it that way, not worry about it? Or is the WCG setting just hidden within another menu that ChatGPT didn't know about? Don't talk to ChatGPT.
ChatGPT does not know anything.
It doesn't know anything.
It's not that it didn't know about it. It does not know anything. It
continues to not know anything.
And if you respond to it, hey, you made an error, to go, oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. Here's another lie. Do you like this lie better?
Do you like this lie better?
More to your liking? No. So first of all, should always be left at auto. The wide color gamut is only coming into play if you're watching something that's in a wider color space, and we're not talking about Rec 709 for HD. We're talking about BT 2020, and it will automatically switch to that when appropriate. Absolutely fine. There is no reason that you would set it to wide permanently in the service menu, meaning that all of your standard dynamic range content looks messed up now, because that's what would happen. So it's a good thing that setting that ChatGPT told you was in the service menu isn't actually in there. You lucked out that it made that mistake, because you should not change that to wide on a permanent basis. It should be left at auto. So don't worry about that. You can use Erting settings for the QM851G. They're perfectly fine for the C855. And then Flat Panels also has settings specifically for the C855. If you don't trust Ertings, they're the same.
Don't listen to ChatGPT.
No.
Do we have time for Steve?
Let's just do a couple more. Let's
try to get Steve knocked out here. Steve, in his home office, Steve has a mini 2-channel amp powering a pair of M&K S125 speakers. The same speaker outputs are also feeding a Focal Cub Evo subwoofer. He's hoping we can recommend a small, $100 or less, 2-channel amplifier with a proper subwoofer output and crossover built in. What do we suggest? I'm sure Fosi has something.
Fosi indeed, yeah. So I didn't quite hit the $100 price point right away because the one that's readily available either directly from Fosi or on Amazon is their DA-2120C. Which Fosi is selling right now for $150. Now, this has exactly the features that you're looking for. Don't worry if you're just seeing the front panel image with the rather humorously large-looking Wi-Fi antenna. That's because the antenna is kind of a normal size, and this actually is quite a small box. If you look at the ports on the back, you get an idea that this really is not a very large box at all. But yeah, it does have a dedicated subwoofer output, and even though the manual does not describe it at all, really, let alone well, it is applying a crossover filter in there. I believe it's actually 90 hertz, which is a slightly odd figure, but not exactly problematic in any way. But didn't quite hit the price point. So they actually have a discontinued model that you can't buy directly from them or easily through Amazon anymore, which was the DA-2120A instead of the DA-2120C. And that you can still find on places like AliExpress, which of course is a little bit questionable about whether you're really getting a genuine product, but that is available for under $100 if you absolutely just need to hit that price point. But to do what you want to do for, $150 instead of $100, then the DA-2120C from Fosi will do what you want to do.
There you go. In Steve's home theater, he's got 2 subwoofers positioned in diagonally opposite corners. He's heard us mention several times how if you want some extra kick you in the chest sensation, then adding a bit of boost in the 40 to 60 hertz region is the way to do that. He'd like to give that a try, but his AV receiver is a Denon X4000, so it's quite old at this point. The Odyssey Editor app is not available with a model that old. Yeah. What are other options for adding boost in that region? For the price of what we're going to suggest, you almost can get like a receiver off of
accessories for less.
Accessories for less. Almost get an updated receiver.
Not that can really. That's the equivalent level to an X4000. That's a pretty big gap.
Not that's equivalent level to an X4000, but how many speakers is he using in here? Have we?
We didn't know. Yeah, I don't know.
He's only talking about 2 channels.
Well, that was in his office though. His home theater is a completely different thing.
So if your home theater, let's put it this way. This device that you should already know about and that we're going to suggest in just a second.
I wouldn't say should. Why should anybody know about this device?
Because we talked about it a bunch. That's why.
But what if you haven't been listening that long?
Well, you're clearly that's your problem. And you can take it from one device to another. So like as you move, you upgrade your home theater. This is a device that can stay in your system for longer. So I don't have a problem recommending this, but I do. It's enough money where I'm always like, is it really going to be worth it in the long run?
We're talking about a mini DSP 2x4 HD, which the price has gone up on it. It didn't used to be $225, but that's the price of it now, $225. They used to have an older model, that was less expensive than this, but the one you can buy now is the 2x4 HD. So yeah, $225. I mean, it can definitely do what you're talking about. But before you do that, I don't know what subwoofers you're using. Many subwoofers come with like a 3-band parametric EQ built into them. If you got anything like that built into your subwoofer, that is your easiest choice by far, because you can definitely put in a little bit of a 3 to 6 decibel hump that is centered on 50 hertz, and then give it a reasonably wide Q, which actually means a smaller numerical value. It's that weird little inverse relationship on the Q setting. But yeah, if you have anything that's like even a single band parametric EQ, sometimes you had ones that were literally 3 dials, right? Which was what's the frequency, what's the Q width, and what's the trim or boost amount. And you actually just had 3 dials for a single parametric EQ band on many subwoofers. So yeah, check that first for sure, because if your subwoofers have a single band of parametric EQ built into them, that's your solution there. But a mini DSP 2x4 HD can do that and a whole lot more. So that's why, if you are going to a future setup, you can use it to set up 3 or 4 subwoofers using like the multi-sub optimizer software. So, there could be future uses that could justify that expenditure.
Yeah. And then, like, if you are in like a 2-channel setup or something like that later on, or
That's
in this room, the other room you're talking about, you now can say, oh, well, I upgraded my receiver in my home theater. Yeah. Let's move this mini DSP to another room. Yeah. So I don't know. To me, $225, because it's not just that. You still need like a microphone, that sort of stuff.
You don't have to do a microphone for this.
Well,
if you want to do the multi-sub optimizer,
he's going to, though.
But he's going to, yes, sure. Yeah.
He's going to, though.
It is a little rabbit hole, for sure.
Yeah, it is. It ends up becoming a thing. So, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. It's hard because I feel like a main DSP is a $500 investment.
I see, okay.
Whether or not
you get to the end of the journey,
intend on it being a $500 investment or not, it ends up being a $500. If you have subwoofers that you can adjust the a little bit of a bass boost in those regions, that is really the solution here. That'll let you play with it without spending a bunch of money. Eddie says, how about that new 100-inch subwoofer from Ascendo, huh? Yeah. Eddie saw a video from Audio Advice where they were talking with Trinov and Ascendo reps, and they mentioned being able to feel the infrasonic details from vinyl records made back in the 60s.
I mean, yeah, so I'll get into it after we finish the question.
Eddie felt, let's call it suspicious about that claim. It doesn't seem particularly likely to him that a record produced back in the 60s were intentionally mastering bass below 20 hertz on vinyl records. But maybe Trinov and Ascendo know something we don't? Yeah. They know that if they don't talk about how great vinyl is, that their stupid customers aren't going to buy their stupid products. And I like Trinov. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
and I
actually
like
Ascendo
no problem
too.
with Ascendo
Actually,
either.
yeah, some of their speakers are a fantastic solution for the right setups. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got no problems with either one of these companies. It's not their fault that people want to buy, are the way they are on the internet. So the fact that they're like, well, somebody wants a big subwoofer that looks like the one in Back to the Future. Somebody wants it. And if we don't build it, somebody else will.
Right.
So why shouldn't we make the money? So good for them. And then they have to justify it. And that's fine too, I suppose. So the thing to remember about vinyl is that the grooves in the record is how they encode the sound.
It genuinely is an analog of the waveform of the sound. Yeah.
And the problem is that the bass in that would be encoded into vinyl, the waveform that is encoded is so violent that it would bounce the needle out of the groove.
I mean, we have that RIAA curve,
which is why they had to develop that
curve, so that the physical waves can be a lot smaller than the signal that's generated, and then even after that RIAA curve is applied, you need a whole bunch of preamplification because it's still a really, really weak signal coming off of that vinyl record. Yeah.
So to even suggest that they were encoding, they weren't looking at 20 hertz. I'll tell you that much right now.
That RIAA curve is not 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. It is limited bandwidth.
So to think that they were somehow encoding infrasonic whatever the crap into vinyl is, I can't even imagine what mental gymnastics they had to do to get there. It's insane. That's just not how any of that worked.
Now, because it is a physical needle physically being moved through the grooves of a vinyl record using static electricity to generate some of that signal there. There is noise. There is rumble.
Oh yeah.
That happens with vinyl records. It's supposed to be filtered out. But if it isn't, then you can end up with some physical rumbles coming through there that could be below 20 hertz. It's not intentional. It is absolutely not intentional, but there is conceivably a way for there to be infrasonic frequencies that are being generated by a record player. So that could happen. Supposed to be filtered out. Absolutely not intentionally there, but I suppose if you want to create vibrations inside of your house, amplify mistakenly included noise, because that's what it is. It's a mistake. If it's there, it's a byproduct of an unfortunate setup that it was never supposed to be there. If you want to amplify that, then hey, here's the device that can do it for you. My favorite thing that Ascendo has done recently is they've actually teamed up with some researchers of elephants. Because
have they?
Because their infrasonic subs can talk
to
the elephants. Which is that's a legitimate use for an infrasonic sub.
Finally, somebody speaking sense.
That's right. So that's my favorite thing they've done recently. This vinyl records from the 60s playing back their infrasonic content is a load of nonsense. That's what that is.
That is straight garbage.
Yeah.
How much is in here?
I'm leaving it up to you. We're past the 2-hour mark. Whatever you want to do.
I know. Well, let's do one more real quick because
gotcha.
I want to get. I have a lot of stuff to do today.
Yeah.
I have a lot of stuff to do every day. Before this podcast, I was mowing my yard at the house that I cannot live in. Because if not, then my neighbors will get mad at me. John in Ireland, we previously made some recommendations to John for his roughly 15 by 20 foot living room setup. On our previous device, he bought a 88.5-inch TCL TV, a Denon X1800H. Receiver and a new ELAC debut 2.1 front speakers. So now it's finally subwoofer upgrade time, and not to worry, he plans to buy a pair.
Hooray!
I mean, you don't have to, but given previous budget concerns, we also did a little bit of guesswork when it came to what sort of size would likely work best. Given his furniture placement, we had previously suggested the Tone Winner D2000 subwoofer to him. He had previously thought that getting SVS subs in Ireland was prohibitively expensive, but it turns out with his time-limited Amazon Prime subscription, he can actually get SVS subs after all. So now the PB1000 Pro is on the table as an option, and also by his measurements, that size is actually okay.
Make a cardboard box. Make a cardboard box, and make sure it's actually physically going to fit, because
tape measure doesn't count.
Sub. It might be SVS's smallest ported sub that they offer, but it's still a big box.
It's a big box. It's a big one.
Don't rely on a tape measure.
We had also mentioned that the larger, more expensive Tone Winner D4000 model and the SVS PB2000 Pro would be very similar in price and size. The Tone Winner D2000 remains the least expensive option for him at around €800 each. He had budgeted about €1,000 each, and at €999, the SVS PB1000 Pro just squeaks in. I guess they don't have tax there. The 4000 and the D4000 and the PB2000 Pro both ended up about €1,350. But if either would really, really be worth it, he might consider stretching it that far. What do we advise? He still didn't tell us what size his room is.
15 by 20.
Well, but that's not.
I know it's a living room, so it's probably open to other parts of the house. It's
probably bigger than that.
That's the likelihood.
So, and then again, and like I said, when we started this thing, I said, "Oh, don't worry." He said, "Don't worry, he's gonna buy two." I'm like, "Oh." If you're in an open space, two is not always necessarily the panacea that we say it is for enclosed rooms.
It's still better though. Yeah,
it's definitely generally better.
Yeah.
Rob's right, and we've said it, and I've written it in articles. The idea is of a subwoofer being the right size is not enough. You need to have a physical representation of it. Build a cardboard box. You have cardboard, or you have something.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of bricks that you can.
It definitely doesn't have to
out.
Look pretty. This is literally just to truly judge the size of this thing in your room.
Put it in the space that you think it is, and then sit across the room from it with your significant other or other people that might be affected by its size, and say, is this okay? Because I'm getting two of them. If it is a really open space, we would normally say get the biggest one possible, because that's the best chance you have of having that more cinematic feel, but also if it's a really open space, having all that bass mean
you're not going to pressurize no matter which one you get. I mean, like, even if the subwoofer were capable of pressurizing the space, it would just be very, very unpleasant to live in that house at that point. So realistically, pressurizing a living room that is actually permanently open to other parts of the house is just not a realistic thing to do anyway. I mean, when I recommended that D2000 model, that was all based on budgeting price of the time and making some assumptions about physical size. That D2000 from Tone Winner, in my book, it's really, really similar to RSL's Speedwoofer 10S, which is that it doesn't quite play completely flat to 20 hertz, but it gets darn close. It's a small compromise. It's like certainly 25 hertz, no problem, maybe 22 hertz, not exactly 20 hertz, but it's a small compromise, and I have no problem recommending it. The PB1000 Pro from SVS is like genuinely flat in terms of its output capability, right down to 20 hertz. A close equivalent would be like a Monoprice Monolith M10 V2. Those are the sort of level of sub where you're like, yep, these are flat right down to 20 hertz now. So I mean, if that makes sense in terms of budget and physical size, then I'm all for it. I wouldn't proclaim that you must spend more, go over your proposed budget. I do think there's a small benefit to going above the D2000. That's where I land. I think it's sort of the right fit for you to go with that pair of PB1000 Pros. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Hold on. So we previously mentioned for his room size and budget, we preferred the ported design of the Tone Winner subs versus some of the sealed models that might also fit. SVS, of course, has their SB models that are also available. So what's the difference between PB and SB? So we've talked about it. The SB are still a little bit cheaper in the same line, and that's simply because of the materials used in the closure size.
Physically smaller cabinets, so the cabinets cost less.
Yeah, and they were passing that savings along to you. We've talked a lot about how the roll-off of a PB, it plays, it goes a little bit lower and then drops off. Whereas the SB kind of fades off a little bit.
But it starts rolling off at a higher frequency than the similarly, same driver size, same amplifier size, but larger cabinet ported. So
generally speaking.
First of all, PB is ported box, SB is sealed box. So just to make that explicit.
For those of you that are, generally speaking, all things being equal, the ported box is going to play louder than the sealed box. Just raw power, just raw output. And in a room like this, you're looking for raw output more so than that sealed box. Now, if the footprint doesn't work for the ported box, well, then okay, that's it. You get the sealed one. That's fine. But if the footprint does work for the ported box, you're better off getting the ported box.
And we're looking at this being a movie setup. We do care about that. Below 30 hertz. We if we can get it, then we want to have it, because sometimes it's kind of nice for the jelly in your eyes to vibrate and for you to get that experience that you can't get any other way. The sealed box versions, they genuinely are probably the right choice for a small enclosed room. I mean, physically, it obviously makes sense in a small enclosed room to just have the physically smaller cabinet. But then what you have is the sealed box is going to start rolling off at a higher frequency, often around 40 to 45 hertz, but it's doing so at a rate of about 12 decibels per octave, which is a fairly, gradual roll off as it's going down. Now, in a smaller enclosed room, you're also going to have room gain, which is simply the sound waves are bouncing back and forth between the walls and the ceiling and the floor, and you're getting some reinforcement. And that reinforcement is more and more noticeable the lower and lower that you get, because the wavelengths are getting longer and longer, and they're bouncing back and forth more and more times before they're dissipating. So those two curves, the gradual downward curve of the sealed box, starting at about 40 to 45 hertz, and then the room gain curve of the small enclosed room, they offset one another really nicely in many situations. And so that is not just from a physical level, but from a audible performance level, very often the best choice you can make in a small enclosed room is going for that sealed sub. Once you get to a larger room, and especially a larger room that is open to other parts of the house, so we're just considering everywhere the air can move, it will move. So all of that is happening without so much benefit of that room gain. You're not getting very much room gain in a larger open room. So at that point, we just want the subwoofer itself to not be rolling off right down to 20 hertz, just staying as flat as it can. It's in its output right down to 20 hertz. And that's what the ported box versions do. But then once they reach the tuning frequency of the port, and that tuning frequency is determined by how big the box is and then how wide and how long the ports inside that box are. And of course, if you have very wide, very long ports, that's going to be a lower tuning frequency, but then you have to have an even bigger box to put them inside. See something like HSU's new D15 Chimera with its supercharger 4-ported box add-on thing to it. And you're like, that is a gigantic box at that point with very wide, very long ports inside, but that lets its tuning frequency actually be like below 20 hertz. So that's where that comes in. You need the larger physical size, but now it plays flat right down to that tuning frequency, and then it drops off very steeply below that. But that makes sense when you don't have the room's gain being an inverse curve of the sloping off like a sub has. So we think a ported box is the right choice in here. You can get one that's affordable and fits, so I think that's the way to go.
All right, who do we have left?
We have on our list Leighton and Jason, and I think that was it for new questions. And of course, we have a gigantic list from Sasi that we still have not put any further dents into. I'm going to have to pick a few out of those and put them further up on the list so we make some dent next week. I think that's going to be my plan.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, we want to thank our listeners of the week. We want to thank Raph for going to avrant.com, clicking on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and sending us a PayPal donation, as well as our 131 patrons over at patreon.com, including John.
For sure. Raph, thank you for that PayPal donation. And patreon.com/AVRant podcast is where you can go to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. So big thanks to our 131 patrons over there. John, thanks for being one of them.
Also want to thank Greg for sending in some movie codes. Thank you very much, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. That was a whole bunch of movie codes, so that's like work for Tom to figure out all those codes and type them in.
I know.
I think he's up to the task.
We just got notes of gratitude from Mark, David, Errol, Infinite Gary, Anonymous, Karl, Raph, Sasi, Steve, John, Joe, Ilango, Jason, and Dazz. Thank you very much for thanking us.
That's a whole long list, but I'll say it one more time. We got Mark, David, Errol, Infinite Gary, Anonymous, Karl, Raph, Sasi, Steve, John, Joe, Ilango, Jason, and Dazz. Thank you so much for those notes of encouragement and gratitude. We really appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
If you want to get your question answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. For AVRant, I'm Tom Antry.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.